I'll give it back to see if we have anybody signed up to talk.
Video and audio are live.
Awesome.
So I worship, I changed it somewhere else.
Did you?
Somebody like put me on her list. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Hey, senor. Good to see you. Good to see you. All good. All right. All right. Perfect timing. Okay, let's go ahead and show it 6:30. We're gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. And Paula, if we can go ahead and begin, we'll go ahead and start with roll call, please.
District 1, Alderman Miguel Aguirre.
Here.
District 2, Alderman Richard Hughes.
Here.
District 3, Alderman David Emery.
Present?
District 4, Alderman Michael Rodriguez.
Here.
And District 5, Alderman Charles.
Here. Okay, well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And just like we normally do, we can all please rise and we'll go ahead and get started with our pledge of allegiance. There we go. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right. Okay. Just a little reminder to council before we actually get started, rules about the usage of cell phones. Okay, let's go ahead and stick to what we got in front of us and take care of the stuff that we need to do. Put your phones on silent, put them away. All right, let's go ahead and move on to citizens to be heard. This is the opportunity for citizens, visitors, and guests to address the city council on any issue or any item on the agenda in compliance with LGC Section 551.007. City council may not discuss any presented issue, nor may any action be taken on any issue at this time. Citizens to be heard are limited to 3 minutes each. Attorney General Opinion, JC-0169. I didn't have anybody sign up for a comment, but I still want to go ahead and ask, is there anybody here for public comments? Going twice. All right, we can go ahead and show Paula. We didn't have anybody. And let's go ahead and move on into number 5, consent agenda. A, consider approval of payment of bills. That was actually provided to you in the packet. Was sent out to you on Friday. Is that right, Lynette?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So take a look at that.
Lynette, the 2 items for the water,
Hello?
could you explain those two?
Yep, give me 2 seconds. Which ones?
The Ferguson Waterworks, the last 2 items? Is that one for cost of firefighting and the other?
Ferguson County View Apartment.
No, the Country View Apartments was a leak, that the Country View Apartments had to go back to parts, that leak, the contractor hit a lane over there, we'll rebuild that back for them.
Also, Waterworks is.
2 lane bill, City Hall, yeah.
Both of these are repairs.
Mayor, I want to make a motion to approve the payment of the bills as presented.
Okay, a motion on the floor for us to approve. I got a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you so much, appreciate that. Let's go ahead and move right into the open session. Number 6, take action on items discussed. A, discuss and take action on resolution number 23-07, accepting a petition for dissolution of the Vital Farms Public Improvement District and setting hearing on the visibility and dissolution and authorizing the insurance of notice regarding the public hearing.
So quick background, council, because there's a lot smarter people back there going to talk all about this. This started with the amendment of the PID at Vital Farms. They submitted that amendment. Council gave direction to send it to our financial advisors and legal to review. After they reviewed it, they felt it was better to dissolve that PID and to start the process new again. So that's what the next 3 items are here, and they're here to present on it.
Go ahead, Clay. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Clay Minford representing the city of Lytle, the special counsel. It was, as Mr. Spear just said, that we had this application process before. And some of you were here at that point in time, some of you weren't. This was an application for the creation of the Lytle Farms Public Improvement District to support a residential development here in Lytle. And we went actually very far in the process and included the creation of the Public Improvement District. But the creation of a public improvement district is just the actual first step in providing a source of revenue for reimbursement for public infrastructure within a defined geographic area. Once you create the PID, it is an empty vessel, and at some point in time, you have to come and fill it with the assessment mechanism to actually generate revenue for development to reimburse the developer for the costs that are incurred. In exchange for the creation of a public improvement district, which is discretionary to this council, we look for assurances of development and performance by the developer that we memorialize in the development agreement. And we actually had completed in substance the terms of that development agreement that included attributes of the development that were important to this council, including such things as special consideration given to homes that would be dedicated to veteran purchase. And so mechanisms to have the assessment essentially prepaid so that those veterans were able to buy the homes without being subject to the assessment. So we came to the lip of the cup, so to speak, and the market changed. This was back in the time of COVID. And the developer that was involved in that process went away, sold the property, and it basically died at that point in time. It has since been purchased by a new developer who would like to resurrect the plans. We had in that prior public improvement district the concept of a pay-as-you-go public improvement district, which meant that the developer would front all the costs, and then over time the assessments would reimburse that developer's costs. The PID that is proposed today is a debt finance PID, which means that instead of the developer putting all the money up front and recouping the money or the investment over time from investments, we would actually use those projected assessments to pledge a security for debt that would be issued to pay some upfront costs for that public infrastructure. Now, there are a bunch of protections in place in order to make sure that they actually spend the money for the appropriate purpose and the development gets built. And I'm kind of getting ahead of that. When you hear the number of changes that were contemplated, it was our advice and recommendation, instead of trying to build onto a foundation that contemplated something else, let's dissolve that and start a new program, new developer. In the process, under the Texas Local Government Code, provides for a dissolution process, which requires a process similar to creation, submission of a petition, public hearing, dissolution. So we are advising that we proceed with that same concept, that we dissolve, and that's what it was before you today, to accept that petition of dissolution. We will start the publication notice process. And contemporaneously with that, the next agenda item, you will see an actual submission of a petition for the new PID. Same geographic area, same terms and conditions, but again, starting new. So those are the items that are before you today. You have members of the development team. Mr. Prado is the counsel to the developer. I believe she has a presentation to talk about the development itself. I will turn it over to you.
Just for clarification for the council, so those of you who weren't here, there's a document, the PID policy, right, that is created. We're not touching that. That's pretty much the same, so that's something that is staying. This is just making an adjustment based on the project.
That's correct. Thank you for that clarification. Yes, the PID policy remains in place. This is, and what we're basically doing is starting at square one. There are a multitude of actions that have to take place before we can actually consummate a transaction. We'll have to conduct a public hearing. There will be publication of notices to the residents of Lytle. There is notice to the landowner that has submitted the application of petition. And then you will have the opportunity of this council to approve again. And even after we create it and adopt a development agreement at the same time, you will have subsequent opportunity to act before we levy an assessment or we issue debt. So this is the first step in a rather protracted process.
So, Mayor, do we need a motion for item 6A?
Well, we're gonna go ahead and give her a chance. Come on up.
I think this is for the.
This, are we getting to?
So we're right now, we're just on the dissolving the previous PID. I don't know if you have anything on that or if you're ready to talk about the creation of the new one yet.
We talk about that together.
Okay.
That's okay. Just,
Okay. Have it there.
Okay.
Great, but did you? I can go. Okay.
We'll concentrate on the dissolution, and then that way we can put it out for a vote before we move into the.
All right. Good evening, council, mayor. My name is Nina Prado. I'm with Killing, Griffin, and Fairmont. A lot of what I will say will probably be repeat from what they just said. And our office represents the developer, current developer, Excellent Development Ventures, as legal counsel. I have here with me tonight Rick Rosenberg from DPFG, who is the financial consultant for the developer. He actually has a more detailed presentation. He'll walk through exactly what is a public improvement district, why it's needed, beneficial for our project, and some of the numbers that support our request for assessments and bond issuances, and things of that nature. So I won't go into too much detail. I will hand it over to Rick to go through that. We also have Brian Crowell with CDS Muri as civil engineer for the developer as well. So if you have any questions about the project itself, public improvements, phases, what's contemplated, he's here to walk through those questions for you as well. This is just a brief summary of my speaking points. Again, I'll let Rick do, frankly, the heavy lifting. Most of the really important guts comes from Rick. But as a refresher, I would like to bring your attention to page 2. This is the property that we're talking about tonight. I believe it's been a while since it's been presented to council. It is an undeveloped, vacant tract of land, about 158 acres, generally located at the southeast location of I-35 and FM 2790. As Clay mentioned, and as he noted on the agenda, we're here today because we submitted 2 requests to council back on June 6th, a petition to dissolve the existing district that was created for this property. And we also submitted a petition to create a new district because of the project changes from, in short, from a single-family, detached single-family development to a mixed-use development. And like Clay said, after discussion with the city, it was best just to start over, to dissolve and then create a new. And so as a recap, Rick will discuss this in more detail, but what is a public improvement district? It is just, in the most simplest terms, a mechanism to finance public improvements for a defined area, a defined project area. And those public improvements that are funded by the district, really any public improvements, but the basics that you think of, water, sewer, drainage, public streets, sidewalks, public lighting, those types of public improvements and others. And the funding source through a public improvement district through a PID is typically just assessments and or bond issuances. And so the property owners within the project boundary will pay an annual assessment to fund those public improvements within the district. So those costs aren't distributed against the general taxpayers of the city, only the property owners within the boundaries of the project. And so back, some history, as it was already stated, an existing PID exists for this property. So back in 2020, we came to the city, or the developer at the time came to the city and asked for a public improvement district to fund the public improvements for a single family development. It was approved in December of 2020, effectively established in January of 2020, or January 2021, excuse me. It was only for single family. The estimated project cost at the time was $5 million for the public improvements. And the district was approved for assessments only, so not bond issuances at the time. After the district was approved, the project did not go forward. As Clay stated, we didn't have any project plans. None of the associated agreements, like a development agreement, reimbursement agreement, came before council. None of that was approved. It came to a halt. And then you fast forward March of 2022, the property, the same exact property that you're looking at, was purchased by our client, Exelite Development Ventures. After looking at the property, the developer is proposing a mixed-use development, maybe a more desirable development for the city and the city's residents. It will have commercial lots along with duplexes, along with the detached single-family residential lots within the district. And to be clear, and I do want to state it on record, we did submit a petition to amend the existing district back in March. We withdrew that petition to amend because we are moving to terminate and to recreate based on those discussions. And if you accept the petition to dissolve the existing district and to create a new one, and then eventually down the road, if the council approves a new district for our project, it would allow for the mixed-use development. It would allow for the funding source to be both assessments and or through bond issuances. The term of the PID would be 30 years from the time of the first assessment levy. And our project costs are estimated to be up to $20 million for the public improvements for the project. The items 6A, B, and C is just the initial step. As Clay said, we have many steps to go. Tonight, by you accepting the 6A, B, and C, by you accepting the petition to dissolve and create, it simply allows us to move forward to provide the notices required by statute. It allows us to come back. Hopefully, we're proposing July 24th for the public hearings on both the dissolution and the creation. So there would be a for public discussion at that time in July if you accept tonight. And then we are proposing to come back after the public hearings to reconvene and have council actually consider an action to approve or deny our petitions for dissolution and creation. And we're proposing that date, city council consideration date, for August 14th, the first regular scheduled meeting in August. So the timeline is July 24th for the public hearing, and then come back in August for actual action. So tonight, we just respectfully ask that you accept both the petition to dissolve and the petition to create, and that allow us to proceed with sending out those notices and scheduling the public hearing date. And I can hand it over to Greg to discuss the financial numbers if you have any questions.
Let's go ahead and do the first one first. Let's take care of the first item that we actually have. So go ahead and open it up, Charles.
Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution number 23-07, accepting the petition for dissolution of the Lidle Farms Public Improvement District, setting a public hearing on the advisability of dissolution and authorizing the issuance of notice regarding.
Motion on the floor.
I'll second.
We got a second? Okay. Any further discussion?
Mayor, that will be for the July 24th,
Yes.
7/24 meeting. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
I'll amend that to include the 24th. Okay. You amenders?
Yes.
Okay. Got- Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. Any switch? Motion carries forward. We'll go ahead and do that. Yes, yes, sir, please.
I would just want to ask, I know that they're ready to give a presentation on what it is in the finances. You are just accepting a petition tonight, so I'll leave it to your discretion if you want to hear the presentation, or if you might want to save it to one we're actually considering for when the public hearing might occur, so maybe other people can listen to it as well.
Okay. Could we do it at both times?
We can.
If we can do a brief one, just because we do have new council, so it'd probably be good just to have the big picture on that one. So let me go ahead and move on to B on here, and then we'll go ahead and talk about it. I'll turn it over to Greg. So B is discuss and take action on resolution 2308, accepting a petition to establish Lidle Farms Public Improvement District Number 2, calling a public hearing for advisory and creation of said district and authorizing the issuance of notice regarding the public hearing. So take a little bit of time. We'll have another chance to go ahead and go over this in public, but good. Do I have it up on the screen? Yes. Just so you have it. Put it on both places.
Thank you. Mayor, council, staff, it is a pleasure to be back in front of council. My name is Rick Rosenberg. I am the managing principal for DPFG. We are a consulting firm that works with developers around the country on projects such as this, helping them arrange financing, answer financial options for infrastructure. We have been involved in over $850 million of completed PID transactions in Texas in the last 12 years. And that's getting closer to 900 million after a couple of deals closed this week. Our firm has been at this for over 30 years, over $16 billion for overall transactions. Just for the basics.
Slide 3.
So the purpose of a PID is really to bring private dollars to pay for public infrastructure. Things that are private in nature, such as an amenity center or a pool that's just for the residents, cannot be funded through the PID mechanism. We are paying for improvement costs that are typically funded by cities or counties, and therefore we're relieving the city of the burden of that improvement cost. All the costs of the transaction, all the costs of this effort are paid for by our client and by the PID. There are no costs to the city of Lidle throughout this process. And more importantly, for anyone within any residents within Lidle, unless they choose to buy property within the boundaries of the proposed pit, they have no obligations. So it's, and if nobody chooses to buy property, and we are successful in levying assessments, all the costs are responsibility of the developer. They do not get any free break on this process.
Rick, can I add something on that? Council, so just for your awareness, the simplest way is before they sign on the dotted line, the documents are going to be presented to the actual buyer. They'll know ahead of time that there's going to be a fee that is associated with buying to be able to pay that. So it's very much upfront. Nothing is hidden. The owner will have that as part of their decision making.
And quite frankly, failure to give that notice, that disclosure correctly, allows the buyer to terminate a contract without penalty. So the laws, fortunately, in Texas have been beefed up in the last couple of years.
Thank you, sir.
The PID itself has a finite term. So it goes away where we, in this case, we're talking 30 years, pretty standard within the state of Texas.
May I ask you, sir, what happens when you have 30-year homes and 30-year-old infrastructure, then what?
Well, the infrastructure will have been turned over to the city, and the development will be generating, in this case, over $800,000 a year in tax revenue.
Okay, got it.
So
It's
from,
kind of like startup. 30-year running startup on.
and the reality is, because of the additional tax revenue generated by the project, the city will be, as typical, setting aside money for we to deal with infrastructure requirements over time.
Okay, good, thank you.
So from a jurisdictional standpoint, I'll defer to Mr. Binford, he's been through this a great deal. The bonds that we will be requesting, hopefully, are non-recourse to the city. There is no use of the general fund, there's no general obligation to guarantee. The security is the land of the developer and the assessment placed on the property. You've mentioned all the administrative costs of the formation and the operation are paid for through the PID, are no cost to the city. You also will be keeping all of your sales tax, all of your property taxes generated by residents and by the project, especially with the commercial, that's a key benefit. Because there will be a development agreement involved in the process, there is an ability of the city to negotiate development standards that under state law they might not otherwise be able to do so. And that's one of the key benefits, because state legislatures taking away some of those controls that the cities have. And because this is, as Mr. Binford mentioned, a discretionary tool for the city, that in exchange for that discretion, they can request certain development standards. And that process is underway with the city. From a homeowner standpoint, this is really important. We all know that property taxes are a frustration to many homeowners or property owners. Taxes go up even if tax rates go down because values go up and we don't control that process. The PID is not a tax, it is an assessment, it is a fixed number. So when somebody comes in and we disclose to them what the PID payment is, it basically is a fixed payment for 30 years. So as your home goes up in value, your property goes up in value, you're not paying any more on your PID. If this was a MUD, which is not very prevalent in the San Antonio area, it would be a property tax. You'd be paying more money each year. So we're able to provide cost certainty to property owners and effectively a reducing tax rate over time as property goes up in value. As we mentioned, it's a finite term. So 30 years it goes away. And once it's gone, it cannot come back. And that's really important to understand. Property owners also have the ability to prepay assessments. And if they do so, they write a check, there's no more payments, it can't come back once again. So if someone's selling a home, the new owner doesn't, they can negotiate to prepay an assessment. It doesn't happen a lot, about 3% of the time. Very important, we will have a number of lots within the project. If I bought a lot and the mayor bought a lot and I didn't make my payment, his payments don't change. There are individual liens on each piece of property within the district, and everybody stands on their own actions. And it does run with the land, so if someone sells the property, sells their home or sells property, they are not obligated to pay it off. It just goes to the new owner. We always put a pretty picture of what a project looks like without a PID and with a PID. And it's really the ability of the developer to access capital at an appropriate cost allows them to build their project.
I have a question that I couldn't get a definite answer, clear answer. So assuming that 100% of all properties are sold at the beginning, I can understand the 30 years. But how do you play in somebody that comes in 5 years later?
They would only have 25 years left.
Seriously?
It starts with the time when the assessment is levied, and it goes for 30 years. Whenever someone buys property, they only pay what is left in that time.
What happens to the part that didn't pay by that owner?
First few years, paid by that owner, who was that owner then. So if it's only the developer, they are making those payments during those first few years.
Okay.
So they don't get any breaks.
So if there's an incentive to sell properties,
Well, and the reality is that before we come and ask you for a bond issue, our client's going to have a contract for a builder to buy the lots. The market demands that kind of market viability. But if the builder is unsuccessful at selling homes, then they have the same obligations to make a payment. So it's an incentive for everyone to move it. In terms of improvements, Nina talked a little bit about the cost that we're paying for. The important thing is everything is public. Everything that is here is going to be dedicated to the city. Some of them will be still maintained by the developer, such as usually trails and the like, will be maintained by an HOA. But we're not dealing with anything that's private in nature or that is restricted in terms of its use. So we've done a pretty basic infrastructure, street, sidewalks, water, wastewater, drainage, and the like. Parks and landscaping can be a big part of it as well.
So is that always public, or is it going to be public after it's dedicated to the city in 30 years?
No, it's going to be dedicated to the city at the time it's constructed. It will always be. And if there was a private let's say a private electric company, that would not be an eligible improvement because it's not a public entity that's going to take ownership of the improvement.
And Clay, so once we establish this, it's pretty much open to everybody. I know in the past we had discussions about the parking and having available parking for folks to use the facilities. So is that correct?
That's correct.
So it's
It has to be.
really-
It has to be.
So everybody will have access to be able to use that area. Thank you.
As Nina said, it's 158 acres south of FM Highway 2790. It is 499 single-family homes, 99 duplexes, and over 160,000 square feet of commercial space. It does have 4.2 acres planned for the amenity center and park. The park will be public. The amenity center will likely not. It will have 3 detention ponds, and we're starting home prices of $325 to $350 for the single family, and effectively $200,000 for each of the duplex components. So $400,000 for the duplex.
does that include the PIN costs?
That's the purchase price. The annual payment that I'll mention
It's not included.
is not included in that. So, we have, when we come back down the road, we'll walk and have pretty pictures as well, but right now, this is the conceptual land plan that has been provided. Sorry for the small print, that's why we can't have the handouts as well. We have calculated based on the engineer's estimates, over $18 million of improvements that are PID eligible. And as we'll talk about, what is projected to be generated for the developer is a little over $8 million for this process. So that means the developer has the responsibility of funding all the costs that are not PID funded.
Real quick, why the sharp increase from the initial bid, which was approximately 5 million to 20 million?
Development plans significantly changed in terms of density and land uses. Costs have gone up significantly. And this developer feels that the market will absorb a little bit higher annual payments than perhaps the market has changed over the last few years. That initial developer was not looking for bonds, it was looking for these payments over time. So before any assessments are levied, there will be a signed and sealed engineering report from CBS Uri that will give comfort to the city that the costs that are projected are backed up by something. From an economic impact, we are projecting over $220 million of assessed value for the city at build-out. Like I said, over $800,000 of annual ad valorem taxes to the city at build-out, and an additional $4 million a year of additional tax revenue to school district, county, and other jurisdictions. We can break down in a couple slides. So our target in this proposal is that the effective tax rate at the time someone buys a house would be no more than $2.55. Because the PID is a fixed number, not a tax, there's some variability in there, but the numbers that will be reviewed by your PID consultant and your bond counsel and your financial advisor will ensure that we're not going above this number. And that equates to, from the PID standpoint, about an equivalent tax of 40 cents. We take the annual payment of the bid and we equate it, we calculate what it would be if it was a tax. In this case, we will not exceed 40 cents. We're looking for a 30-year term. We have the $18.2 million of cost. We are targeting, we project bond proceeds of about $10.6 million, but net proceeds to the developer of $8.1, so over $10 million of additional investment that needs to be funded by the developer. The reason for the difference between the $10.6 million and the $8.1 million is the cost of the transaction, underwriters, other issuance costs, but also reserve funds. Make sure that in the event of any non-payments, there are funds to make those payments to keep everything whole. So it's very secure and very conservative bond issue criteria that I will defer to your team to comment on that. And then one of the things that we've talked about a lot with the city, looking forward to having it put in place, is an agreement with by our client that they will prepay an assessment. I'm using the word disabled military veterans. I'm not sure if we finalize exactly all those terms. We can't, unlike a homestead exemption, we can't just say military disabled veterans get an exemption on the PID, because we don't know where they're going to be buying for home. There's individual assessment on each lot. But our client has agreed, and we'll finalize those arrangements to make payments so there will be no obligation for those homeowners. This is the first city in state of Texas that will do this. And I promise you that when this is done and when it's put in place, we are going to tell all of our clients and all the people we deal with that it was done by the city of Lytle. And I imagine that will be something that more cities will start demanding.
How many homes is that going to be? What percentage?
I don't know if we have a set number yet, but I will. Before any agreements are finalized, we'll know that it'll be in the development for sure. But the concept is new to the state of Texas, and I give you all credit for pushing on that.
Thank you. I think Mary did also push for that whenever we initially got this going.
And we had the whole council, I think I appreciated Charles. It was good for the whole council to jump on it.
So on the next slide, we detail what we believe to be the projected ad valorem tax revenue generated by the project. Like I said, over $800,000 for the city, over $2.8 million to the school district, and almost $1 million a year to the county. So significant tax revenues, once again, without any tax reinvestment zone or tax abatement to the developer. So you're keeping all your tax revenues, as will these other jurisdictions. On this slide, we project that what an average homeowner on a given lot type will be paying annually. So we're looking at two phases of the project, and the first phase, the smaller lots average a $325,000 home price, they will pay $1,300 a year on average, and for the larger $350,000 lots, homes, average payment will be $1,400 a year. For the second phase, we add in the duplexes and the commercial, and it's still, as you can tell, still at a 40% equivalent tax rate.
How does it work for the commercial?
We estimate the value of the commercial will be when it's built out. And we calculate the same 40-cent equivalent tax rate. We work backwards how much they have to pay.
So there'll be an annual.
It'll be a 40, in this case, it'll be a 40 cent per square foot.
Okay.
Annual installment. And then, our plan at this point, which has not been reviewed or approved by the city's, financial consultants, although we've had some discussions with them, is that there will be two bonds, two phases of the project. No reason to put a bond, the market will not support a bond on the entire project. We only want to have a bond that is supported by the sales underway at that point. So we're looking at 5.4 million in the first bond, and the number I point out to is small print on the slide, my apologies. That at the time of the bond issue, we expect the amount of the appraised value to be almost over 3.7 times the amount of the bond issue. Typical standard in the state of Texas is anywhere from 2.5 to 3.0. 3.7 will mean we get better terms, and it's very conservative. In the second phase, we actually expect 4.14. So that is a condition, a criteria that your team will evaluate to make sure that we're not proposing a level of assessment that can be supported by the bond market. And just a reminder that these bonds, when they are purchased, they are not being sold to individuals in the neighborhood. These are being sold to institutional investors such as Nuveen, Fidelity, Vanguard, Goldman Sachs, people that they put them in mutual funds. They buy this kind of bond all over the country. They're not going to, they know what they're doing. And we don't want these sold to individuals in the area so they don't come to the council and start asking me what's going on. These are sold, so they're only big institutional buyers. One other thing that I already talked about is the costs that are going to be both paid for development are going to be effectively paid for by homeowners and property. That's always the case. But for the developer, if they have the ability to take thousands of dollars per lot to be financed in the PID, those are costs that don't have to be paid for by the lot price to the builder. If the builder pays a lower lot price, they will sell the home for a lower price. They have the ability to do so. Because the builder doesn't want to be obligated to have that payment themselves, they want to sell those homes as fast as possible. So it's critical. So our analysis, and we happy to go through it in more detail at any time, is that homeowners save money by being in a PID. They have a lower home price, same quality as it would be without a PID, lower down payment, lower mortgage payment. Even with the PID payment, you'll come out ahead. So on an annual basis, the smaller homes would save almost $3,000 a year, and then it moves across for each of the lot types. But over the life of 30 years, it's almost over about $100,000 of savings. Now, not everyone's going to be in that home for 30 years, but these are savings that start from the value you buy the house with a smaller down payment, plus annual reductions because you have lesser mortgage, lesser value price as well for taxes. So there is an impact on affordability. The builders understand this, and it's critical to their efforts. And we will help those builders educate their buyers as to this process. We didn't include it in the presentation, but I do want to mention that the concept of disclosure came up at the beginning. Historically, Texas has had really weak disclosure laws on these kind of mechanisms. Probably the worst that our fund sees anywhere in this country. About 10 years ago, we started telling our developer clients they needed to do more because no one likes to be in front of an angry homeowner. I've been that person in front of angry homeowners. I don't really enjoy it. So we've been pushing for 10 years, and we've worked with Clay and his firm on the right amount of things that need to be done, whether it's the law or not. Fortunately, the last legislative session, the state adopted House Bill 1543, which now codifies a lot of the things that we've been doing already. We believe that the more disclosure, the better off everybody is. So It used to be that the only time you knew you were at a pit is at the closing table. There was one piece of paper shoved into a whole stack, and we know everybody reads every piece of paper at closing. And I get calls like, what is this I got a bill for? I don't like those calls. My clients don't like those calls. The cities don't like those calls. So now it's, before you sign a contract for a house or a piece of property, you have to be told what that assessment's gonna be. And if they don't, you can walk away and get your money, your earnings money back and everything else. And in today's market, no builder wants to lose sales because of that. It's just a better process, and we're no longer the worst state in the country. I'm happy to answer questions. I know I went on a little bit, but happy to
Rick, this was good. I appreciate it. So council be informed, and I know we're gonna have, just like Clay said, we'll have an opportunity to get more into the details a little bit, but this is a big picture, just so we can kind of think about stuff and kind of generate some other thoughts that go along with that. So going back to the agenda, on the previous one, we actually disbanded. Now on this one, we gotta go ahead and have a motion for us to go ahead and accept the petition.
Before you sit down, I have a question. So, a PID is not an HOA.
correct.
So when all these are being put into the development, is the city responsible for the upkeep maintenance of it?
Certain public improvements like the streets and utilities will be the responsibility of the city. Others like trails and the like that are more project specific. Probably is to be finalized in the negotiations of those projects. Dedicated city, but under agreement, the HOA will maintain those.
So there is going to be an HOA?
Oh, yeah.
I would clarify, there are some points of negotiation to that. We have done some where the public improvements, the city, just as you say, or as you're alluding to, we don't want the incremental cost associated with it. I will say that you are getting tax revenue from day one. There is no revenue share. There have been bids where we have negotiated where some of the public improvement responsibility is assumed by the HOA. There is also an opportunity where the HOA doesn't do what they say they're going to do. You can impose an assessment for maintenance to reimburse yourself for the cost that it might pay in order to maintain those improvements. You do have to worry about affordability. And if you put too much on the homeowner, then you negate all of the financial benefits and it's disproportionately large. So you have to look at the development in the whole as to what revenues you're going to get. You will not have presumably a maintenance expense associated with brand new infrastructure that's built to code for a very long time. So that's another thing that's subject to negotiation.
And that'll be at a later point, when all that come up.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Right. Any other questions?
So the homeowner would also be responsible for this PID payment and property taxes?
Yes.
And the HOA.
And the HOA can. Now, they could negotiate with the builder as an incentive to pay off all or part of the bid assessment. That's to be negotiated.
And this is nothing new. This is something that's been happening. We have a lot in Medina
So,
County
Yeah, so
and San Antonio.
in the last 12 years, there's been over $2.1 billion in bonds issued in the state of Texas for bid projects. There have been no defaults. Nationally, there's over $40 billion of bonds of this nature. Default rate is less than 0.5%, and our firm has been out there for a long time, and we have never seen a city have to write a check because of a default. Because if there's a default, the bondholders will ask you to foreclose on their behalf, but you will have incurred no cost in doing so. And bondholders take the risk. The risk is the bondholders, not the cities.
And Miguel, we'll get into the details in the sense of the costs associated and the numbers and stuff with help from our legal team and the finance team, and then we'll get into those discussions too.
And we worked a lot with your team. It's been great to work with.
Joe? Any other questions? If I could actually have a motion for us to go ahead and accept the petition.
Mayor, I'll make that motion that we accept this resolution number 2308 as written in the agenda.
Okay, and let's go ahead and add, just for clarification on there, a notice of regarding the public hearing also for the 24th of
Yes.
July.
Yes.
Okay.
That-
Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
Do I have a second? Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you so much, appreciate that. And let's go ahead and take care. Let's see, discuss and take action to approve an agreement for payment of professional expense expected to be incurred by the city in connection with a development project known as Vital Farms.
Cleveland, again, representing the city. I am a personal, significant advocate, for making sure that development pays for itself. Ms. Rosenberg and Ms. Prado are fantastic at what they do. They do represent the developer. Mr. Cunningham, his firm, myself, you'll have your own fit advisor. We represent the city. Sometimes these development projects, they proceed, sometimes they do not. Market conditions change. We just saw that on this back in 2020. We do not find ourselves or view ourselves as joint venture in the success or failure of a project. We want to make sure that you have unvarnished advice as to questions that you might have, concerns that you might have. In order for that to not be at the expense of the taxpayers of the city of Lytle, we require this process that the developer deliver into escrow an amount of money that can be used to pay your costs and expenses for accommodating the request. That includes payment of fees of professional consultants such as myself, payment of publication of business mailings that have to go out, due diligence is in place in order for this to proceed. If at any time they pull the plug, they want to quit, we give them accounting, whatever money's left over, they get it back. But this allows for you to proceed under this construct without exposing any portion of the finances that currently exist in the city in the pursuit of that project. And that's what this agreement provides.
Council? Oh, yes, sir.
Mayor, I move that we approve the agreement for payment of professional expenses expected to be incurred by the city in connection with the development project known as Vital Farms.
Thank you so much. Have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you so much. Appreciate it. To the whole team, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to our public hearings and other meetings and advice to make sure that we all take care of our residents and future residents. Have a great evening. Have a great evening. Thank you so much. All right, let's go ahead and move on to D and consider and act upon the master agreement and task order number 23-08 in the amount of $2,200 with TRC Engineers for engineering services related to Saddle Ridge Phase 6 final review.
So council, this is really a change order. So phase 6 was closed out, but we discovered there were damages in phase 6 due to a sheet foot roller that was placed on it. So in order to keep it moving forward, TRC had to get involved, and this is their change order to assist us with that process. Once we come to an agreement on what needs to occur, whatever costs we have with them will be submitted back to Roush Coleman for reimbursement to the city. Scott is here with TRC. They don't expect it to go over 2,200 or be right in that range, correct?
Correct.
So that's what we're asking for now.
I'll make that motion there. We approve this task order number 2308, the amount of $2,200 to TRC Engineers, engineering services, related to Saddle Ridge Phase 6 final review.
Motion on the floor.
I second
You got a second? Any further discussion?
What exactly were the damages and how can we prevent this from happening in the future?
So for some reason, when they were doing phase 2, I believe when a construction company was doing phase 2 and 5, instead of pulling into the construction area that was still dirt work and unloading this piece of machine, they stopped on the asphalt road that had just been recently paved and unloaded it there, maybe just for ease or something. We discovered the damage. I think James discovered it first, notified us, and we went out and looked at it, and that's when we had a joint meeting with the city, the Roush Coleman, their engineer, as well as the construction company that was in the back. There's been a lot of back and forth on who it is, who it isn't. All I know is it's not the city's responsibility, and we shouldn't have to pay to fix it. That is our standpoint. And Roush Coleman is the property owner. It has nothing to do with the maintenance bond it's a different company that did that phase. So we don't have any nexus here other than the city and Roush Coleman. We're working with Roush Coleman. The recommendation from our engineer is a mill and overlay. of the damaged area that has the indentions on it, as well into the intersection. We're working on getting that back to Ralph Coleman. They're gonna review it, because I think they came up with, there was no structural damage, just seal coated. That's not gonna take away the indentions in the road. I don't know about you, but, you know, you move to a brand new street, you don't expect to see roller indentions in the road. They may not cause major damage, I don't know, but they could cause damage later on. And that's what I'm trying to prevent from us having to take on the cost, because that year maintenance is already up on that road. We've already called in some of that maintenance bond and gotten some of that fixed.
Is this gonna allow for an extension of that agreement?
If we move into this and they decide to mill and overlay, do we get a maintenance bond that extends it to
That's
50?
one of the components that we're looking to include in the requirements for the repair, is to extend the maintenance bond. That'll be part of the negotiation.
Any others?
And then my only concern is, we got a lot of development going on, how would prevent this from happening in the future? You know, I guess, talking with developers and making sure that they're on top of their guys and be
Yes, sir.
using safe construction practices.
Yes, sir. Us keeping up patrols of driving out there with city staff, us, our city inspector Reese that does a lot of this, and just inspecting it. And as soon as somebody sees something, it's like everything, see something, say something. So we can get the ball rolling. Had we not discovered this prior to construction starting, would have never noticed it probably.
Any other comments? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Got, need your help with this one. Appreciate it, okay?
Yes, sir.
Take care of that. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to E, consider and act upon the selection of awarding of 2023 street paving contract to Asphalt Incorporated LLC, Lone Star Paving of San Antonio in the amount of $594,340.
Council, this is the actual action item from the last council meeting, to award the contract. TRC, we submitted, or they received all the, bids. They reviewed them all. This was the low bidder, but in reviewing it, they did all the background and they've seen their work before and they recommend this company. It's got us here if there's any questions specific to that. We weren't involved in that process. It was TRC.
And this is with the adjustments that we talked
The
about.
adjustments we talked about, and removing the roads and bringing it back into, budget.
Awesome. Council?
Scott, what other cities has this company done business in as far as asphalt paving?
They've done work in Elgin, then work in San Antonio and Lockhart. That TRC has been directly involved with managing some of their construction projects, or acting as a construction manager.
And no issues with any other jobs that they've done throughout?
Correct, yes. Well, the references that we've gotten for some of the projects that were away from those cities didn't have any things with that, so to speak.
The only other issue I saw in diverting that water main down Railroad Street, that concrete slab that's over there by Prairie, right, between Prairie and Benton,
Yes.
is that concrete slab in the railroad right away? I mean, I'm just looking at it, right, that thing is awful close to the railroad track, and
It is.
is there any way that we can pull that out to just bring that water main?
We thought about it. Obviously, that's an option to consider, but partially removing that slab. We verified the right-of-way limits the other week, and the right-of-way line is approximately, in that area is about 9 feet. If you start at the edge of pavement right there and walk towards the tracks, it's about 9-10 feet. And
Just on the other side of the slab?
correct, we're partially, the slab's partially within the UP right-of-way. And you have to get a permit to enter their right-of-way for doing any type of investigations or work, and demolition including. And you also have to have their flaggers involved as well, even if you're away from the tracks. So it can be very cumbersome, time-consuming, and expensive permit just to go ahead and demo on part of the slab. That's why we're recommending avoiding it altogether.
That's why we're gonna shift the water line right there. It'll be in the roadway there, and then we'll shift it back out of the roadway after that block and get back into the city's right
One
of way.
thing came into mind, and I can't remember, I know it was on this side of the council, the actual edging,
Yes.
the the
Feathering of
the
the.
feathering. So all that is taken care of inside.
Yeah, that's correct, yes. Okay.
And when they're doing paving, I will periodically go check on behalf of the city as well to get out there and make sure we're feathering, just making sure. We'll have to meet with them before, because I'm sure they'll need water, we'll have to set them up a meter and count and all that.
We'll have a pre-construction meeting with them, the contractor, before work begins.
Mayor, I want to make a motion to the selection and awarding of the 2023 street paving contract to Asphalt Inc. LLC, DBA Lone Star Paving of San Antonio in the amount of $594,348.
Got a motion on the floor? A second? Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
I'm sorry, Mayor.
Yes.
I think that, of course, sorry I wasn't here last week, but just to clarify, the streets that got left off, those are gonna take priority for the ones, especially out in coal mine, those left 2 or 3 off the coal mine, they're gonna be at the top of the list next year.
That's good.
Yeah, we left one, coal mines, we had 2 streets, and one got pulled, so it is getting 1 street repaved, and then next year, we talked about all the streets that didn't make the list get pushed for next year for paving.
We took care of the big one over at Coal Mine.
Yeah, because I've been getting calls over there, and,
I did too from a resident, I think they got some misinformation, and we talked, and they understood, and they're like, okay, that makes sense.
And I did tell them that I would bring it to y'all, and just, and I couldn't promise anything, but I know the new year coming up, we're gonna be able to be looking good in there. And I said that, meanwhile, we probably can fix some of the potholes.
Any other further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So let's go ahead and move on to F. Consider an act upon entering a memorandum of understanding with the Edwards Aquifer Authority for permission to install a device for continuous monitoring at City Well Number 1. This is one of the items that we had on the previous agenda. There was a little bit of homework to do.
Yeah, so council, I was able to get hold of a company, they came out and looked at it. They gave us an estimate of $5,046, that will be to remove the wellhead and to pull the motor, the pump out of the well or whatever it is. Now, they do have some potential concerns that it's been there so long, that it could be stuck, but they're hoping $5,046, easy job, in and out kind of thing. They gave us an alternate, you'll see in there, to run a camera down and to inspect it before. I'm not interested in that because the Edwards said they'll run the camera to inspect it. Why are we gonna pay that cost just to know? They could not, though, give us a cost for sealing the well. There's too many unknown variables there that's based off of what that camera feed would show. But no matter what, unfortunately, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. We either move forward with this and hope for the best that the casing's so good and Edwards can hook their stuff up and we only pay that. Or we say no to this and we pay that fee plus whatever it's gonna cost us to scope it and seal it.
What was the turnaround time? And I might have missed it. You might have mentioned. What was the time?
I didn't get a turnaround time from them, but they told me as soon as we're ready to call them, they'll get us on the schedule and move us. It's a fairly simple job. There's enough room in there to get a truck in there and move it out, and haul it off.
So we should be able to meet their timeline at the request.
Oh, yeah, they'll, simple job.
So this motion is to approve the costs. Have you looked into whispering into Edward up here on possibly recouping some of the costs?
They're not gonna pay any of the costs.
You have looked into it?
That was never part of the discussion. They said, you pay to do that, we will look at this. If this doesn't work, you have to seal the well.
Right.
It was kind of injustice. The letter was kind of nice. It was like, if it all works and you let us do this, your well is back online and you're good to go. If you don't, the well is offline, you have to seal your well. Have a good day, kind of thing.
Okay. So last week we were talking about, you were gonna try to ask kindly to see if it's possible.
They're not interested.
You weren't able to look into it?
No, when you looked at their information initially, it said you will pay to remove the wellhead and the motor. We will pay to scope it, and if it looks good, place our equipment. If it doesn't, then you have to seal it.
So the question was never presented to Edwards.
I didn't ask them after. When I went back and researched it, it said, you pay to do this and we will do this. It's in their verbiage on everything.
So playing devil's advocate, we're gonna pay the cost to have them attempt to remove the pump in the wellhead. If it's not successful, we're gonna have an additional cost to cap it.
We're gonna have additional cost to get everything out of the ground and cap it.
Do we have to do that?
Yes.
We're gonna have to do that no matter what.
Actually, we should have capped it by then.
Yeah.
Right.
The well's been
Several
offline.
years, but that has to come out before we even look at that.
Yes.
Okay.
How long has that well been offline, James?
I don't know.
Before you were here, correct?
How long before I was
I've worked
there?
here 20 years. I don't know if it was online then.
No.
The Edwards, I guess, you know,
What's the depth on that well?
James says the motor's 500 feet down.
Should be set around 5. We don't know what the depth is. I don't know what the Edwards here is like. I'm sure it's probably about 18 to 2,000.
I don't have any information on this.
So what's the likelihood that it's gonna be bad, and we're gonna have to cap it?
So I asked these gentlemen this specifically. Sorry, James. They said when this well was installed, if it's that old, when this well was installed, the casings they used were really good. They say they're 50-50 on it.
And we don't know why it was ever taken offline.
I heard it produced had bad water,
But
so they went out
Much
there and
sulfur just
drilled.
like the other one, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So we have 2 wells at southern end. And this one plus the other one that we know produces bad water. We tried to rehab it after $250,000. We finally said enough and went back to the north where our good wells are.
Now, is there any way you can at least just, it might work or might not, just do another little call and say, is there any way you can,
I'll send them an email first thing in the morning and say the council has approved this. They want to know if the Edwards will assist in the cost of doing this and paying this $5,046.
What's the timeline for us to, if we don't get this taken care of, where they're saying, we're gonna start getting fined, or what's gonna happen if we don't?
We're gonna get a letter saying you have a well that's out of service, cap it. Have a good day.
Yeah, what's the deadline for that?
I don't know. I didn't go down that room yet. I don't want to.
They're out of service so long.
We should
They're out
have
of
done
service
this.
so long, they're supposed to be capped. That's the law.
It's 20+ years ago.
We've been lucky we made it this long. And I'm afraid if we mess around with them too much, over $5,000, they're gonna tell us, you know what, we don't really need your well, we've got enough around you. Spend $100,000. I don't know, I know we're trying to save, in the whole scheme of things, $5,000,
I
but
don't think it's just $5,000. I mean, I'm curious as why is Edwards coming to us now? They want to use it to monitor, right? I think that's the argument being made by Michael, Richard, that we're giving them an opportunity to monitor their aquifer, right? So that's why I think why we want to put forth the notion that they want to help us along with these costs, because they're getting something out of it in return.
Mhm.
So
I can-
if we're having to foot the bill, why not just put it out there and see? Worst they can say is no.
they already told us no. In the letter, they said, you do this, and we will do this, but I'll ask them again. Yes, sir?
Can we go ahead and do a conditional
Mr.
motion?
Mayor, the item is considered to proceed with MOU, and the council wants to direct Matt with condition to go ahead and ask the Edwards Authority to share or participate in the cost for removing the wellhead and those initial costs. Certainly do so, yes.
So we can proceed with this and at least be able to get an opportunity, but at the same time, we don't hold back, just to be able to take care of it. It's like I mentioned, this is something that was our requirement, should have been done a long time ago. So, kind of try to take care of ourselves if they're willing, kind of meet halfway, but we need to ask and try to find out and see what we need to do. So if I can get a motion for us to go ahead and approve this with a condition of Matt trying to negotiate lesser costs, maybe a zero cost of being able to take care of it.
Yeah, I make that motion as the item is written to approve the memorandum, with the understanding that we're directing Matt to approach Edwards Aquifer see about monetary considerations, but if they refuse, motion stands.
Okay, Jesse, is
Is
that
that
good?
okay, Jesse?
Okay.
Jesse, don't we need to move forward on this $5,446?
That would be another contract to be awarded, and that's not on the agenda today. It's to award this particular contract. I think the direction was for Matt in the last meeting to get the cost estimates for you. So he's done that. And then that was the item that was tabled, it was to proceed with the MOU. And then council directed him to get the additional costs. So he's done that. And so now you proceed that. We've not put the agenda, item on the agenda to award the contract to actually proceed with these particular things, removal of the wellhead and then removal of the pump. So that hasn't been acted on yet. So if we proceed, based on the outcome of the discussions with the Edward Aquifer Authority, we could then, the council put on the next agenda to consider awarding the contract and then proceed that cost.
Yeah, so it seems that we're gonna have to do this whether we get compensated or not. So my suggestion is to put that in the next meeting to go ahead and award this
Oh, yeah.
contract. So we can at least get this out of the way. The earlier we know what the consequences are gonna be, the better for us.
We can work with, if Legal's already got a contract, or I can get one from this company that says for,
Yeah,
this
we
is
bring
what
it
you can
in the
expect for
next
that
meeting.
one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. All right, a motion on the floor?
Did you get second? I'll second.
A second on that? Any further discussion?
Yeah, I question that. Looking down the road, they want to monitor. Have they given you an idea how many years they want to monitor? Does the monitoring, what they do, does that constitute capping the well?
No, so if we allow them to monitor it, the well goes back online,
Okay,
and it's a good well for the city doesn't have to do anything else.
until they decide to pull the monitoring equipment out, and then they will probably say cap it.
Yeah.
So somewhere down the road, we're gonna have to.
I guess that may be a possibility, but because of where it sits, it's kind of one of the southern wells on this side, kind of like the other southern wells, it's just data for them, and then we get the access to that data in real time if we wanted it.
I just didn't know if you got that far down the road, what happens if.
The big if will be the camera. If we can get everything out and they scope it, that'd be the next big if, I think, for us.
Any other discussion? Nope. All right. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Mayor, can I request for move to recess?
Yep, we can go ahead and do that.
I'll second that, Mayor.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, let's go ahead and take it. It's at 7:40. Let's go ahead and take our 2-minute break. can go ahead and show us back at 7:55. And we'll go ahead, council, let's go ahead and move on to G, consider an act upon selection and awarding a building inspection services agreement with AOKA Engineering, LLC, DBA, AOKA Code Consultant.
So council, we issued an RFP for inspection services. We received two proposals back. After staff reviewed them all and looking at them, I think AOKA is going to be the best choice for us to go with. The other firm is a big firm, but in talking to some of their clients, they have too many clients right now, so they're starting to see some delays in getting responses back. So it'd be my suggestion we go with AOKA. To follow this, if they're selected, we will look at the cost associated when we do our adoption of our new fees with the new budget. They wouldn't start until October 1 in the new budget. We would amend our fees, building inspection fees and stuff like that. So there won't be, if there is an increase, it won't be very much.
So one of the primary concerns was the availability of basically on-call. This firm's gonna be able to.
They're available, yeah, and they've got a representative here. They did in their proposal, said they will have staff available 24/7 if need be. They spelled out how quick they would turn projects around, have people out here based on the size of the projects and stuff like that. All the licensed people that they have on staff coming out of the San Antonio area for us, and if they have them all over, if we need any specialized or somebody's out sick, they do have the licensed fire inspectors, so if our fire marshal's office needs to third party something or call in additional resources, they have that ability as well.
Now, would we be able to recover 100% or a certain percentage of the cost related to the service?
So the way it works is they send in a schedule, and don't swear me to the numbers here, but it's broke down off the square footage. So a new residential home from, I think it was 0 to 1,500 square feet, total cost for the building permit was $777, and that's built in them reviewing the plans and conducting all the inspections to include if they were to fail an inspection and they had to come back. So when we adopt, I would look at adopting kind of their same fee schedule plus a 5 or 10% administrative cost. That's what I see the other cities are doing. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel and up this $3 or $4 here. It's just that plus the administrative cost for us to process internally the building permits and the software.
Right, but one of the people that came forward to the council, their chief complaint was that when they were ready, they wanted the inspector to be out there then. So my question is, are we gonna be able to cover that cost
Yes.
through the
Yes.
cost of the fee to?
We no longer will have a I'm gonna use a plumbing inspector only on Wednesdays.
Right,
And if you want it outside of a Wednesday, there's an additional cost. No, from now on, we're gonna use our software like it's designed to use. Now we're gonna have login credentials if they're selected. You're building a house, you're gonna be told these are the milestones when you need to schedule your inspection. When you're ready, you're gonna log in to the scheduler and you're gonna say, I want it on Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. One of their inspectors will get the alert and say, hey, I got one at 4:30, I'm taking that one. The next guy comes in, I'm gonna take that one over there, I'm gonna take that. So yeah, we're gonna have better turnaround time, and we're gonna have more frequent inspections as needed.
thank you.
And that's gonna really ramp up once we get the new subdivisions. You may see where they got 2 or 3 building inspectors. I don't know how many are built, but they've got 100 inspections in a day. They might need multiple inspectors then.
We currently we're projecting 3 to start for the city, and we're looking to probably ramp it up to 5 to 6 once a lot of these developments start getting to phases where they will need continuous inspections. But like Matt said, our fees with the permitting process handles all the plan review as well as every inspection within the new build process, as well as re-inspections as needed. So typically it pans in about, I would say, 8 to 10 inspections typically. So that's all built into that cost as well.
How long have you guys been in business?
We're going on our 5th year. We work with several other cities around San Antonio, as well as Pleasanton, Kennedy, Bernie, and quite a few also around DFW area, East Texas, and South Texas as well, further south.
One of the companies I called doing the background on the other one, they actually asked about their information so they could, potentially reach out the next time because they're seeing some issues.
So in your statement, you were saying this is your
This
better
would be-
choice because of the availability.
Yes, I think we're gonna get better service and a more, when I have an issue, this is the net to go ring kind of thing versus, well, that guy, this guy, that guy.
Mayor, I want to make a motion for the selection and awarding of the building inspection service agreement with AOKA Engineering LLC, DBA AOK Code Consulting.
Okay, got a motion on the floor? And a second?
I'll second that.
Got a second? Any further discussion?
I got a couple of questions. How long is this agreement gonna be good for?
This was,
So our agreement is built, really for flexibility with the city. You're not locked in. I think we asked for a 45-day, just termination, just to let us know so that we can plan. But you're not locked into anything long-term. It's an as-needed agreement, the way we build our contracts.
So typically, other municipalities, how long are those structured for? A year,
Same.
10, just
Same.
never 45 days? We're
yeah.
not happy, you're not happy, either party can just go our separate ways?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I believe the RP included an initial 3.
yeah, I talked about a 3-year with an automatic renewal, but every contract's got the clauses. If it's not going right, this is the terms of how we can get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's only gonna ramp up, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes,
I mean, that's why we needed a little something more robust, and I think that the demand is gonna be there in the future. So it's 7 days a week, Monday through Friday sort of deal?
7 days a week as far as inspections with us.
Yes, sir.
We usually only schedule Monday through Friday, but yes, I mean, we're available, especially with emergencies. We've seen quite a bit in North Texas recently. We work with several cities in North Texas, obviously with some of the tornadoes and different things that have happened. And so we've definitely made sure that we've sent extra help there to be able to help on the inspection side of things. So yeah, yes, sir.
They've told us they're 24/7 available. If we have an issue in the middle of the night where we think there's a structural issue and we need to get an inspector out here, we can reach out.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you so much, council.
Thank you.
Okay, this will continue on to H, discuss and consider act on continued development of city-owned real property located near the intersection of 2790 and County Road, FM 2790 and County Road 6710. Alderman Kate, this is the one that got tabled from the last.
Yes, sir, thank you, Mayor. I think Lynette's pulling up a little brief PowerPoint based off some of the pages out of our existing comprehensive plan. So, just a little brief background, this comprehensive plan was adopted in January of 2015 by the council, the council at the time. It's about 85 pages, so Paula was generous enough to provide copies for everybody. It's a really important planning document moving forward for the city.
Thanks, it should work.
Okay, so here's page 1-7. All these slides are little screenshots from the comprehensive plan. I can, either I or Paula, Matt, Lynette can email everyone a copy after the meeting. Item number 7 talks about creating first-class quality of life amenities and parks that strengthen the perception of the city as a great place to live. The most important recreational items. Now, this was not something that the council determined. They had public hearings, public meetings, a lot of community input as to what the residents of Lytle desire, they're looking for. And the number one recreational item to address on nearly 30% of the residents was to develop a new proposed sports complex. The youth of the community, of course, they're probably in their mid-20s now. Some of them, I think these are kids under 16. The big issues that they had with their recreation items in Lytle was that there was no place for their sport or activity near where they lived. As you can see in the handout we'll get into here in a little bit, I think that what's been worked up previously addresses a lot of those wants and needs in the community. Allocation of funds towards citywide projects. Number 6, you'll see that residents, they little 11%, I guess 11% want to see funds go towards developing that new sports complex. Even more so than beautifying railroad corridor through downtown. Drainage, overall beautification, other stuff that we have taken care of, I think, already. Some of these we've taken care of, some of we've not. This table was very interesting to me out of the comprehensive plan. This was taken from 2015. This shows at the time that we were at a deficit, that top line, park acreage, far right, you can see that we were at a deficit of 21 acres. We have not added any parkland since 2015, correct? So we're still at that deficit, and as we add more residents, we're going to need more parkland. Depending on how many people we get, that might be up to 40 more acres. So it's something that's never going to go away, so it's just always going to be an issue for us. These were some professional recommendations for our park system. That second item, second bullet, is to develop phase 1 of the new community park. From the documentation that I've been able to scrounge up, there's 3 phases to that sports complex that we're going to be talking about tonight. And I think, of course, everyone's concerned about what it's going to cost. That's just, everything costs money these days, unfortunately. There's also the item right below it, as residential growth occurs east of I-35, work with area developers to acquire land for a new park east of I-35. So it's something that's been identified previously and still exists need. There's the key priorities from the comprehensive plan, number 3. If you look at, improve John Lott Park and develop the initial phases of the sports complex. Here's a map at the top. You can see where that land is located, kind of everything that we need. We have needs all over the city. We're going to have more needs. But the initial phases were for the trail, sign, parking, the park infrastructure. Table 5.7, information timeline for the sports park. The need for action of the second community park will provide additional sports facilities and park amenities. We would be the key stakeholder, of course, since it's our real property, and the potential time frame within 5 years to 10 years. So that's the short and dirty version of it. In front of y'all, you have the plans that were worked up. I want to say that these plans, they are very ambitious. I don't see a need for the city to not be ambitious in what we're trying to provide for our residents. There's a lot of literature out there that I've read as far as urban planning is concerned, and parks is a big part in attracting residents, businesses, economic development. David, I think that you had a question on how we're going to pay for it, right?
I think everyone's interested in that.
Yeah, so, my thoughts are in amending this plan that's already, been drawn up. I take my son to the Yanaguana Gardens in San Antonio, Hemisphere Park. I don't know if y'all have had the opportunity to go up there, but they've done a complete overhaul of that park in recent years. And they have incorporated some mixed-use development on their land with restaurants, apartment complexes. I don't know if we need to get that extravagant, but to have some ground leases available to attract businesses, because one thing, we would be able to dictate what goes in there as far as the nature and the quality. I know that there's a high demand for sit-down restaurants still in Lyden. And I imagine with the sports complex of this caliber, that people want something to eat more than concessions. You know, a lot of what I hear from parents who have kids involved in LYP is that people, they love to come to Lyden, but they want more. They want more facilities. You know, they love to come out here. We're in close proximity to the seventh largest city in this country. I think we're in an ideal location to provide some sort of regional tournament in the future. And with that thought in mind, that's going to be driving some businesses. Talked real briefly with Michael earlier. There's a episode of Real Talk with Brian Gumbel that talks about how this town in the middle of nowhere in Kansas, they built a much larger sports complex than ours, and they have national tournaments with hotels and everything. So my concern, of course, is the longer we wait and getting the ball rolling, the further behind we're going to be in being able to provide amenities such as these for our residents. So if you look at that packet, phase one, it talks about the project scope. It's the running, walking trail, pavilion, playground, vehicle parking. I'm not entirely sold on that detention casting pond, even though when I brought up the topic of potential more park space, my son asked me if we could go fishing out there. So I know that at least one person in the city is interested. But we got to start somewhere. And if we're going to be taking care of our residents, there's no better use of public funds for recreation than a park that everyone can enjoy. Thank you.
Well, baseball is one of our biggest sports here in Lyden. I mean, to me, I think we're really cluttered there at our park that we have already. I think something like this could be an asset to baseball. We need tennis courts. We need tennis courts for our school. We need tennis courts for, our families out here. I mean, I think if it did or would go, I think it could be started in those little areas first. I mean, I think it's a good idea.
Well, I agree with you in a sense of the idea. It is a very good idea, Charles. Okay? And it's something that we actually need. The thing that I want the council to take into consideration is the location of where it's actually being proposed at.
Okay, is it the one outside of Lake Shores?
Yes.
The one newer land?
We just passed the animal control building.
The one newer land, no?
Right in that area, and take into consideration. The comprehensive plan, when you look at the comprehensive plan and you have a code combination on there, you'll see that the property is located in blue as a public, right? It's basically a public area, public facilities that is located on there. And you'll see the existing, and then when you go to the future, it's still actually highlighted as blue on there. So the areas that came out of the comprehensive plan also highlight, and they show that the parks are actually in other areas that they were proposing. This property within itself, we got the help with Jesse. This property has a deed, and when we purchased it, that was for us to be able to put houses in there. Is that correct?
There's a deed covenant restricting the use to residential development right now on the property. If the city wanted to do something else, they would need to address.
So that's one thing that needs to happen. Number two, with the background and going back and talking to the people that were actually working on this, and I want to say that Mr. Kate, your dad, was heavily involved in this project and trying to get this established. So there was multiple people involved in this, but when it came back to the council for us to go ahead and do that, talking to the sources, one was the cost, the financial. just to get the property, where it needed to be. Now, this is back in 2011. It was gonna cost the city $1.2 million just to get the land taken care
What do you mean by that?
of. The land is actually
To get
sloped.
it ready to start building.
Yep, be able to bring it down and do whatever you needed to do, just to get the property prepared. Number two, it's gonna cost 4.5 to 5 million, once again, 2011, for us to be able to get the facilities built in there. There was a plan in the sense of staging, but still the money that you needed to do to be able to put those properties. Along with that, because there is no sewer and taken into consideration, the plan, this plan right here, the one that got put together, and actually you can go into, thank you for bringing this, Charles. If you go into phase one project, the second page on there, go into the chemical, look at the restrooms that they're gonna put. Right under phase two project scope, chemical toilets. That was the plan to be able to take care of. They're gonna put porta potties in there to go ahead and do that. Because you gotta develop the septic or be able to come, and that's not a cost that is associated with that. There's no sewer that is available in that area. So talking to the folks that were involved in there, and another thing that came up as a discussion, the maintenance cost that goes along with that. The cutting the grass, the landscaping that actually goes along with that we would need to absorb. Even if you did the first phase with the walking trails, you would need to go ahead and take care of that. So it came in front, it was brought up. It pretty much died. Nobody wanted to do anything in a sense of being able to do that. The funding was one. The other discussion that came out, it was the current park that we usually have and investing more money into that park, which we still need to do that because there was availability there for us to go ahead and do that and be able to help out with that. And then the third one was the naming. Apparently there was a discussion about trying to name this park after somebody. And I guess people didn't feel comfortable with which way they were going. So there was different discussions that happened during that time. And the council decided that that wasn't the best thing to do. I will tell you, this is a great idea. Me personally, this is a great idea, but it's not in the ideal location. The ideal location where we need to get this is we need to get it closer this way. Mayor Bowen asked me when I first came on board to find somebody to help us out because he wanted to bring this back. I brought somebody over to go ahead and take a look at that area, and he said it's the wrong place. It is the wrong place. You need to move it over on the other side of O35. You need to get it closer to retail, get it closer to the hotels, so you can actually have it in the right place to have the facilities and have the access to do that.
Now, so other than that, is our intentions to sell it? It's just gonna sit there, right?
I will tell you this, the intention is for anything that the council would like to go ahead and do. But I don't want us to miss the opportunity that we have, if somebody comes in and we have an opportunity for a low footprint type of development that goes in there to be able to benefit the city. It is ideal location, it's close to a substation, okay? Major substation with power. So if there's some sort of technology or some sort of base that maybe we can utilize that to be able to bring something that is gonna bring revenue to the city with a low footprint, that would be great for us. And especially for our school district. Our school district right now is struggling. The average cost for an elementary school is between $38 to $42 million just to build it. So imagine trying to use a property that is gonna benefit our school district to take care of our school and help the city out. You know, this could be for anything, but I can tell you that right now that property is probably suited for the opportunity for development in the future. I'm not against this, but I definitely say that this should be concentrated on a different location just because we don't have the infrastructure and the cost with prepping it and getting it to work just because of the property within itself.
Mayor, who did you speak to that was involved with this?
I spoke to the designers to put this together.
Who is that?
This is with Steve.
Steve DeBarca?
Yep.
So you spoke with Steve?
Yes.
Because my recollection of this was that the biggest pushback was not from the council at the time, it was because Josie Conklin was afraid of spending money. help the residents out. This does not change the need for parks, you know, and park land isn't an economic driver. It is, and so I would ask Mayor, please point out where we have suitable parkland remaining in the city. Because the last time I checked, we have 1,800 new residences coming in. Where on this map is an ideal spot for the city to purchase land for a park?
Well, I think the city is doing, we just had a briefing earlier, you know, part of the PID development is that new housing area is gonna have a walking trail, so it's gonna have an open area.
That's 4 acres, though. That's
For
4
folks to have access to.
4 acres,
So-
and this comprehensive plan, it recommends 8 acres per 1,000 people. When I worked up the numbers earlier, if all these homes come in, we're looking at an additional 5,000 people. So we're gonna need another 40 acres of parkland for this city. And the fact that previous councils did not stand up to Josie Campo, or they were scared to spend money, I think is a shame. It is a shame that people had no vision to do what was right by the people. And according to this planning document, that's what the people want. The people want more parkland. Everyone that I talk to, I say, hey, you know, what can we do to make Lidle better? They say, parks, clean up downtown. We can't cram a park into downtown Lidle. I wish we could. I wish it was all green space. But what we do have out there, when talking about utilities, what is the animal shelter using as far as their facilities? What do they have? Do they have city sewer? Do they have a septic tank?
Septic.
I mean, septic tanks can be used as aeration for irrigation of landscaping. I mean, we can, and that thing's not gonna be having people taking showers. It's gonna have people going to the bathroom in time. And the longer we wait, the further behind we're gonna be.
But the aerated sewage is the current requirement. You can't have a conventional septic.
As far as new construction is concerned, well, see, there we go. Gonna be water and landscaping out there. You know, and another thing, as far as making, generating more ad valorem tax, parks increase property value. So I think that the residents out of Lakeshore are gonna benefit directly from having, a city park in close proximity to the north side of the city. Because the way I see this map, you got the north side needs a park, you got the central Lidle needs a park, you got the east side of Lidle needs a park. You know, we need something out there, proximity of Twin Lakes. You know, they need more park space.
And I agree with you, but point, just so you know, the residents out at Lakeshore, and just to be known, I'm one of the residents out there. Do we have any light poles out there? James, do we have any light poles at night? They've all voted, they don't want any kind of light poles. So guess when this discussion came up and it was presented to the HOA back then? They didn't want it. Why? Because you have a sports complex with lights. Yes, you can name them, you can put them different places, but they didn't want it either.
I don't think that there's any, you know, thing set in stone that we have to put lights out there. The existing city park has existed for years without lights.
And that's the reason why folks felt that we need to put the money, if we're gonna do anything, is put the money into the park that is being used.
I mean, it's a capacity thing, Mayor. We have 16 acres of parkland. We're 21 acres short. That land out there, it's approximately 24 acres.
Just letting you know what I found out. I'll let the council take that into consideration. And once again, if we want to build something like this, we need to get it closer to the retail. We need to get it closer over in this area.
It's literally 2 minutes from downtown Lidle.
There's nothing out there in the sense of being able to support, in the sense of store or.
There's power and water, and you can put a septic tank. Everyone in Lakeshore manages to live on a septic tank.
The John Lott Park is 16? Is that what you're saying?
It's less than 16. The Veterans Memorial is about an acre. The parking coal mine, it's like a fifth of an acre. So it's approximately 15.
They say John Lott is 15.5 acres in the report. 15.5 at John Lott. The park in, Coal Mine is 0.2 acres, and Veterans Park is 0.6 acres, for a total of 16.3.
I personally believe we've outgrown John Lott Park. We can definitely improve it, but it's time to give us more space to improve it. But the improvements need to be done. But I can't sit here and spend taxpayer money on a park when I'm asking them or telling them that we're gonna raise their taxes this year. We're looking at utilities. We're getting money from our taxpayers left and right, and I can't see the city spending money on recreation. If there was a way, not knowing any better, if there was a way to do a bond on this where the citizens could approve it and pay it, I mean, that's probably the way to go, but we just don't have the money to be taken out of our current tax base.
I think that there is. I think that we could put it up to the board, Michael.
And if what you're saying is true, which I do believe it is true, if you ask me, I'm gonna want a park. Obviously, I wanna want a park. But am I gonna be willing to pay for it through taxes?
No,
Well, taxes are being raised.
I mean, there's also, I think originally when this thing was being discussed in its infancy, that the state did not have money available for grants. Now there is grant money out there that's available. So it's a big difference.
The athletic park over there in Pleasanton, that's strictly a sports complex. Is that owned by the city?
I believe so.
Because that's way out there. I mean, it's away from the city. You have to take a special trip out there.
I've been out there, but I don't know if it's owned by the city.
Yeah, and I mean, that's basically what you're saying. It's out of the way, but they draw a lot of people. Because it's
Only for those
specific.
tournaments.
It's a specific use.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
Yeah, and that's what Charles was saying. It's a specific use facility.
I mean,
It's meant for sports.
I think also one of the things too, we could have a partnership with the school district for them to host. I mean, going off these plans, they have ample tennis courts. And I know that, I forget what school district, maybe it's San Antonio, they have a big tennis tournament every year at Mankey Park down there off San Pedro, over by SAC. Or a regional tournament,
what if like you approach HB, people that do have money like that?
They gave money in the starting phases of this, which is still sitting in a fund, 25.
But kind of approach them and say, hey, would y'all be interested in putting some money into a nice place for the community?
I can tell you from our side, staff side, financial, looking at this, I don't think anyone is against the park at all. But I don't think our residents are truly informed on our current infrastructure issues. Several months ago, the council sat here and discussed the amount of monies needed to fix the aging infrastructure we have in the ground, $28-ish million.
Well, it's gonna be
That's
more
where
than
we
that.
look to
It's
the
gonna be
council.
more than that now.
Probably so, but that's where we look to council. How do y'all, if we want to go out and get bonds, go to the voters, do you want this, do you not? Every obligation, how do we want to do it? We need to make sure they're informed, because I would really hate for us to say we want a sport, and I'm gonna say we want a sports complex. I think it's great, I think it's awesome. But here it is, but sorry, we can't fix your collapsed sewer line and we can't get you water now. I don't, that's our job to tell you that. I'm not sure. Too many times we've heard we did 8.5 million. People were pushing for it, the council, and we were all on board, and then we got questioned on, well, I don't know if we can afford 8.5 million to make that payment. We gotta look forward into not just the today. Parks are great, I agree. I'm just not 100% sure we have the capital to do that yet without the homestead. I agree there's no better time to start it now. But James, How many issues do we have in the facilities with sewer lines and water lines and stuff now that are aging, that again, predecessor councils never took action on. So here we are today, you, the governing body, have now just got it all landed on your lap. We need to fix aging infrastructure, we need more park space, we need to do this, we work for y'all. Y'all tell us which way you wanna go and we'll go there.
I mean, maybe another idea could be, maybe not the park place right now. Maybe we can utilize an acre for tennis courts and another 2 acres for a baseball diamond. I mean, I really don't think you need that much facilities like plumbing and all the other stuff just to do that.
If we're gonna do baseball diamonds and do sports, that we're gonna have to have utilities out there. Utilities gotta come before everything else. And working with our little league now, there's a lot of work we need to do on our park, in our current park with our fields to make them more usable. We're already talking about next year on how we can take the one large field, that from what I've been told was basically built that size for the school because they didn't have a baseball diamond. Well, unfortunately, it's too large for most of the sports and the kids that we have. So it's almost a waste. Last year, they had 2 teams that could play on that field all year. So it was a wasted space. We're looking at a way next year to buy a portable pitching mound that they can then use it for the smaller age. We're gonna take a big field and use it for 2 different things, maybe. I agree, the park we have now is super tight too.
We have a lot
Not
of,
overcrowded.
we have a lot of parents with kids involved with OIP and whatnot. Just look at the awnings that they build over there for us, They have the equipment. I haven't talked to Davenport about, I know that Mike Davenport, he's got a bunch of land moving stuff. I don't know how Cody and his brother feel about contributing labor to something of this nature. I mean, that's something that I think you gotta think outside of the box,
I
right?
agree.
Because of course, we all agree, right? We don't wanna raise taxes any more than we have to, right? But we have to because of the growth that's coming, but with that growth, we're gonna need more parkland. We keep on waiting, we keep on kicking the can down the road and then, 10 years from now, council will hit a tear there and say, why didn't they do anything about this? They knew all these homes were coming. Why didn't we do anything?
We're at that exact point right now with parks and infrastructure. So I guess my question is, what's more important? Having parks or having the infrastructure?
I mean, is there a way to compromise? To get something like Richard was saying, maybe not all of this, get a field out there. Who's to say, okay, whatever, we get down the road and we say, oh, we gotta sell this land, right? Because of financial hardships or whatever. It's a lot easier to build over a baseball field than anything else. It's not like we're building an office complex.
But I think it's not as simple as, in my opinion, it's not as simple as just a baseball field. If that was the case, then, we could pop a baseball field anywhere, but where are people gonna park? In the dirt? Are they gonna sit in chairs in the dirt? Are they gonna use the restroom next to their car? We gotta have infrastructure.
This is a country. People would, don't put it past them, they will do it,
All right, cost is certainly an issue, probably the issue right now. One of the previous slides here showed what the people wanted back in whenever we made this plan in 14, and infrastructure was low and the park was real high. Something tells me they weren't informed enough about the state of our infrastructure then, and they're probably not informed about the state of infrastructure. Anyhow, mention was made, I think, about possibility of state grants. We can bat this ball around all night. I would like to have us think about talking to the people who look at grants for us and ask them to go out and look for some grants specifically to begin to do some development of parks.
There's 2 ways we can move with that. One is the firm we hired to do specifically the CDBG grant to see if they do work in other fields. Remember, we didn't pay them a dime. They're not gonna get paid anything unless the grant gets awarded. On the flip side, having a grant writer on staff for the city, I think there was a presentation at one time from a firm, they work out of Pleasanton, and it was costing somewhere like $60,000-ish a year to have them on staff writing grants. Whether they got you a penny or they got you 50 million. That's what's at. Do we wanna look at doing that and hiring a grant writer? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, this staff we have here, number one, we're not expert grant writers, and number two, we're already run thin trying to just keep us moving forward.
Well, that's the question. We have people who do try to find grants for us, they take a percentage of the grant. Can we specifically ask them? Go.
I'll ask them if they do that. Typically, those firms, I'll ask them, because I asked them about another one too. But typically, those firms do the CDBG grants because they allow you to write in your cost for that. But I'll ask them what they've done with Park Space and if they're working on that.
Yeah, because I think if we, let's say, had an open meeting with the people in town and talk about how we need to fix the city, and talk about all these items that were on the slide there, from infrastructure all the way up to a park, up to, luring in businesses. And really present, it's gonna take this much for our 90-year-old or 70-year-old water lines, we think that's much, and so on and so forth. We probably get a better understanding of where they want to focus spending the money right now. So for us to arbitrarily say we want to maybe slow down on infrastructure and dump $20 or $30 million in the park.
Yeah.
Trey Bell was here with Matt and I a couple of weeks ago, and he told Matt and I that we're gonna need 20 more million in the next 5 years. And I've lost,
Infrastructure.
Oh, we're gonna need that probably just for our wastewater treatment.
I have lost a lot of sleep over this.
Yeah, we got a wastewater
Within
treatment
5
plant stuff
years,
to
we
build.
need to come up with another 20 million or more, or more.
Yeah.
So that, but that's just for the new stuff that we need. That's not for replacing the water
No,
distribution.
yeah, that's just for adding, yeah. That is for
It's not
keeping
for
us ahead of the game.
So council, this is the thing. I think we all agree that we need to do this, right? I think we all agree with that. So what I would ask is for you guys to take into consideration to allow us to take a look at it, try to figure out what our possibilities are out there, and also with locations. I don't mind looking out, once again, reaching out to somebody and give us an idea of perspective in a different area. We want this to be successful, and we want it to be in a place where it's gonna be able to work. And that person that I talked to, I could ask for somebody to come back and give us an opinion, to basically try to do it, from their assessment was to be able to do it over on I-35, closer to that area.
We need a park over there too, though, man. We're gonna have 5,000 people on that side of 35.
And that's the reason why we need to look at it and be very strategic of being able to find an ideal location for us to be able to do that.
And we still have another 3,000 people on the other side of the railroad tracks. This does not change anything. The ideal place for a park on the eastern side of 35 is over there along the Atascosa River that's in the floodplain. That's land that they've already set aside that they're not gonna build on because it's in the floodplain. There's your land right there. But as far as doing something with the sports complex, there's nothing over there because we're talking about money, purchasing real property. It's only getting worse. A half acre, not even a half acre in Lytle right now is going for $85,000. So we're gonna try to find another 20 acres. People are they're gonna be charging just as much for a park.
Let us look into this. Here's some data. Currently, we have approximately about 988 homes, plus the ones that they built. 988 within the city limits. We're gonna have 1,400 just in that area. So if you wanna get a park closer to the growth, it needs to be on that side. If you wanna get them to the residents, that's where it needs to be able to get access to it and get the usage that it needs. That's where the growth is.
Well, Mayor, can I make a motion here?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we task the city administrator to, well, I'm sorry. I'm gonna give you a lot of time here then, okay? To look into possibilities of grants or other sources of funding, location, all the intricacies required to develop something like this sports complex and report back to us by the first of the year. Is that a reasonable amount of time?
I'll get that squeezed out the answer.
Well, I know you're busy, and that's a lot of reaching out you have to do, so. Do I need to restate that, Paula, or you got it? Okay. Thank you. You can call me if you need.
Okay, so I got a motion on the floor?
First of the year for the city administrator to look into this and come back to us with some more.
Can I add?
You can suggest and I'll add to it if necessary.
Can I ask that property made, dedicated just for park use only?
I don't think we can do that based on what the deed says at this time. That's another whole issue, right?
So you're asking, your question is, that the motion would be to specifically restrict the use of the property for that, for parkland use only at that location? Is that your?
To only dedicate that land for park use only?
We can only use it for park use, yes.
You mean it specifically that this particular property is identified on the agenda now, that specifically restricted for, interesting question. The current item on the agenda is.
Well, we have a motion on the floor right now, so
Yeah,
he would need to
I
amend
think
it.
that's way outside the scope because
Yeah.
you said the deed right now says it's for residential and we'd have to go through some legal actions to change it if we're gonna use it for something other than residential, right?
Yes.
We can't do that with a simple motion here, can we?
No, and typically a designation of a particular piece of land, that particular land or any other land, but would usually be typically done by ordinance or resolution specifically identifying it.
Right,
Usually
that's what I was
restriction
getting
of the
at.
Property, because it does have legal
Okay.
implications.
So, I'm sorry, I would decline to do that, add that to my motion at this time. But we can look into that if you can work with that, if that's what we want to do. It's another whole process and that's why I'm reluctant to add it in my motion.
I think it's a little premature too, because if we could get that land and get some commercial entity in there, pay $5 for it, we could use that money to purchase other land somewhere else.
Maybe
So
so.
restricting ourselves right now, I think it's a little premature. Eventually, we should go in that direction if we decide as a council that that's the way we want to go.
And even though there's commercial there already, wouldn't that automatically, even though it specifically says that, doesn't that automatically give you the option to go residential or commercial?
If the city-
Commercial where? At
If the
this
city
property.
approves it.
Property here, isn't the.
We would need to come back to the council.
Yeah, if the council approves
Oh,
it.
okay.
Oh,
Yeah, we still need to come back. Either way. Okay, so I got a motion on the floor for us to task the city administrator, give him to the first of the year to go ahead and look into this and come back.
Funding sources and ideas, location and future for park.
Okay, I have a second.
I think the timeframe's a little too far out there. Is it possible to get updates or maybe
I can
milestones
add it.
between now and then?
I can add it to, as a monthly update, to my report on like just information I found or what I've done for the previous month.
I'll amend my motion then that between now and the first year, our city administrator gives us monthly updates on the progress. Okay, Mark?
Amended. Okay, I'm gonna ask again with the amendment, do we have a second on the amendment?
I'll go ahead and second. I think it's a good step forward with the milestone updates. So I'll go ahead and second the motion from David.
It gets us moving.
Yes, sir.
Further discussion?
Yeah, I don't know why we've been waiting so long. We've been waiting long enough. This indecisiveness is, it's been the bane of the city for a long time, you know. In researching this topic, you know, Texas Parks and Wildlife, but they got deadlines, right? They got a deadline August 1st for small communities for non-urban parks, right? Up to $1.5 million. So the longer we drag our feet on this, I think the worse off that we put our community, we put our residents, our businesses. So I'm gonna have to vote nay on this.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
How many ayes? 1, 2, 3.
There's 4 ayes.
What, Richard? Okay. Okay. Charles, nay?
Nay.
Thank you so much, appreciate it. We definitely need to look into this. Charles, thanks for bringing this up, and we will go ahead and move forward. Okay? All right, I, consider and act upon appointing members to the Ethics Commission.
I think we were still looking for the last appointee from, Alderman District 2,
For ethics,
for the ethics, yes.
was Juan Carmona? I'll get his number for you right now.
Actually, just give it to him, don't mention it since we're
Okay.
live. Just give it to him. So Juan Carmona,
Yeah, Juan Carmona.
okay? And that completes,
Yes, he needs to make the motion to appoint him, and now we need a second.
so you made a motion to go ahead and nominate Juan Carmona.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Got a second? Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Appreciate it. Okay. Jay, consider an act upon appointing members of on the Daniel J. McGrath Award Commission.
We're just looking for the last two appointees from Districts 1 and 2.
And we got nobody here.
I have,
You
I
got it?
have one.
Okay,
Let me get my information.
okay. You have,
Elizabeth Sanchez Darla.
so you can make a motion for Elizabeth, Elisa?
Elizabeth Sanchez, right?
Elizabeth.
I'll second the motion.
Motion was.
Yep, so we have one,
One.
and you're still working on yours?
Yeah, I'm still working on that one.
Okay,
It's hard to find.
so we got a motion just for the one. Got a second, any further discussion?
I have a question, these, appointees for the ethics, they have to be private citizens, correct?
I think there's a percentage with the ETJ, within the ETJ too.
Okay, yes,
So I think there is.
okay.
That's-
What's right, it's been a minute, I've read that.
Okay, so going back to
We can
the,
verify that.
yeah, going back to the Daniel McGrath. So we have a motion, any further discussion on the Citizenship Award Committee?
We're in the ethics, where are we?
We're in the.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we're in the,
So it was for the previous motion, the ethics committee. Okay,
good.
all right. Now,
We're good, we're good.
moving forward.
Okay, so can I go ahead and, all those in favor for Elizabeth Sanchez Davila to be part of the committee?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you so much, appreciate that. Okay, and the last one was appointing members, is consider an act on appointing member to fill vacancies on the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I think
We're
there's,
just missing the one from District 2 you had for last month.
Mike Aguilar?
there we go. Perfect. Okay,
I'll make a motion that, we, Mike Aguilar is, chosen to be, yeah.
Planning and Zoning Commission, okay. Got a motion on the floor, got a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so much, appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and jump right into number 7, department reports. The first one is gonna be the finance director report. Which one here?
She's pulling her list.
Oh.
All right, this is gonna be for the end of the month, May. All right, so our general fund balance is 1.1 million. Our payroll fund right now carries 11,000 in it. Our credit card was at $208. I've got to refund, I've got to fund that up. Our Fed tax account, which what that account is, I'm only gonna be a little more elaborate with our new people here, I pay, our 941 tax, our payroll taxes out of that. It's a separate account that I put money into. That was the way it was set up before I got here. Has a little around 3,000 in it, that's kind of just a cushion. And then we have a bond account for 1.8.1 currently. CD and other fund accounts is 2.3. Total cash values at the bank are 11 million. Please remember though, with that 11 million, we still have about 8 million more that are gonna be paid out in dedicated projects that Matt already has earmarked. So, and then on top of that, part of that's 858,000 is hot tax, which is a dedicated fund that I can only spend so much money for. So our real, what I call freedom money would only be about 1.6 million. Utility billings for May, total bill was 61,970. Sewer account came in at 33,755. Our gas accounts were 31,371. I put the new accounts that we added in. We had 9 new water accounts in May. We had 6 new sewer accounts, and we don't have any gas accounts with us. Oops, sorry. So our total gross utility billing was 127,98. And we did have, you'll see from the last month's billing that we were a little bit lower in our billings. We had to make some utility adjustments because we had a huge leak over at the high school and the elementary. So we had to adjust some billings. And we had bad water reads on those. Those weren't leaks, I'm sorry. I misspoke that. Those were bad water reads that I had to go back from 2017 and adjust the billings.
So the reason we had him talking to Public Works, the reason we had the bad reads is we had that leak inside that valve box since 2017 that they've been looking through about 3-ish feet of water, trying to really look at those numbers and get, but it's fixed and we're good now.
For May, our water impact fees, we were low. We came in at 4,376. Water tapping fees were only 2,000. Water acquisition fees were 3,600. No gas again. Sewer impact fees came out at 6,642, and our sewer tapping fees at 1,500. So we had a little bit of a slow month. Our donations, animal control, I coded in $130.50. Library brought in $214.40 with a total city donations of $344.90. Fire department has actually gone down a lot. We used to bring in about $1,200 in donations to the fire department. We've seen it go down. So this month was $882.91. Residential garbage collections for May, we have 1,419 residents. We billed out 32,615. The waste management bill was 25,363. Our direct cost, that's not including indirect or variable cost as in employment. James taking trash cans out every day, fixing trash cans and everything else that has to be done at about 65% overhead and burn rate. But our direct gross income was $7,251.
Where's that money going then?
It goes back in the general fund. City sales tax for May came out at $123,279.66. Year to date, we have $1,022,000. We're a little bit ahead of budget at 1.5 budgeted here. Hotel tax for May was $9,861. June came in, I already put it in there, just to kind of give you an idea. It's at $9,030. We had our largest month so far has been April. Franchise tax for the quarter were for the second of 23 was $43,596. Court fines for May were $63,353.86. Year to date, we're at $466 of a $308,000 budget. So So we're above. The warrant collection fees and FTA state court fees are paid quarterly, so I haven't sent those out for the next quarter yet, so that remained the same from last month. Internal updates, we're updating court forms and operating procedures in court, trying to make things run a lot more smoother. We're trying to get the docket a little bit more filled so we can process easier. We confirmed a new online court payment system that will be active within the next 6 weeks. They are doing the programming right now, and we'll start kind of seeing how it goes in about a week, 3. And I'm kind of really excited about that. I'm hoping that'll help court run a lot smoother.
And if I might add, that's something the cities had access to in the contract we did years ago for a number of years. It was just never implemented. So it should speed up our court process and people that want to just do things online.
Then we do have a court position coming up. Diane will be leaving in October. Matt and I are going to get together and put the applications out here at the end of July and start taking applications. Diana will retire her last day here, and her kind of goodbye is going to be on the 31st of October. Virginia is back from medical leave, but she's still going to be in and out for physical therapy. So that means the drive-through window. I know some of you are getting calls. It's very hard for me to balance what I'm doing and the drive-through window. Paul and I try our best, but sometimes we can't always be there, have to shut it down. I wanted to note that we've had a lot less clerical time on meter reading errors. I know that was something that came up a couple of council meetings ago. I don't know James enough to tell you, but I think we spent, I calculated like maybe 2 hours on bad reads. So the guys are doing a whole lot better. And then another thing that Matt and I have talked to Tyler about, we're gonna have an online text and billing system to be installed within the next 6 weeks as well. So residents will be able to pay their bill via text on their phone and get account information through texting on their phone.
When are you looking at getting that?
That and the court thing, or the new court system, should be active within 6 weeks. I've been working with them almost a couple of hours every day.
Technology we've had access to for years, just never implemented.
So let us know when we're ready so we can do the push.
Yeah,
Get
we'll push it out.
information out, informational, so everybody understands. Especially if you're gonna do a push through the text, we might need to make sure that we have cell phones available, right? On the accounts.
Well, people will be able
Well,
to,
we've already started doing it, Mayor. We knew that this was coming. Matt and I probably have known about this for about 3 or 4 months. So every time somebody comes and pays the bills, Liza's asking for a phone number and their emails. So we are putting in as we can. We still know we'll probably have about 15% of residents that want to pay with paper money, and that's fine then.
but just that you as a resident here will have to log in, create your account, log in, create your account, save your credit card data, and the way it'll work is monthly, you'll get an alert, a text, your water bill's ready to be paid, and that is, $100. Click pay it now. Text back pay, your water bill's done and paid.
Now,
And if you have your card saved in our system,
we have an online system right now.
we do.
So that's not going to
No,
work.
we're gonna have that in addition to, we're giving as many platforms as possible to our residents.
Good.
And then the final is that Matt and I are working on the rest of the budget. We should have it done here shortly. And the audit is scheduled for the end of October, the last week of October, and we'll be ready to go.
The new billing system you're looking into, is it gonna be able to do an itemized listing?
So I've seen a demo of it, and the demo kind of just gives you what your last bill due and what your current bill due is. It's not
That's
really
what the current
showing.
website does,
Yes, sir. So they would still have to call
or paper bill.
or ask for the bill. Well, they can get the email, that once we finish this, they'll have the bills emailed to them too.
Which will be itemized.
It's gonna be a PDF.
We're gonna try to stop mailing out
I would like to go
1,500 bills a
paper,
month.
I would like to go
Yeah,
paper
that's-
white, if that makes sense.
Cause that's the only reason I use the paper, is to get
Yeah.
my breakdown.
But we'll take care of our residents that do want the paper, right?
Yeah, if they want paper, you're still gonna get it mailed. It's just if you're in the system and you want to receive it electronically, when we click the button to send the bill out, it just posts, they all go out to those
So
people.
it'll let the person pick if they want to be paperless, and if they do, they can get it that way. If If they don't, then we'll still mail it out, so it will alert us.
Just a real quick question, maybe a little off the subject. All the information we put out quarterly in the bills and the paper bills, how is that going to go out to people then? All the police reports and notices and things coming up?
We've talked about that, you know, I mean, there's email blasts and stuff that like CPS does. You know, that would be something that you could eventually go for, but some people are still gonna want paper. So I think, I think the residents should elect what they want to do.
And there may be a way that, you know, we can add an additional PDF that month when we shoot it out, or we just start directing people back to our
Oh,
website.
well, that's true,
There you go.
because you can add additional documents more than just the bill.
And for those selected customers, very small, maybe just have paper copies, so when they come pay, you know, if they like to pay in person, you can just give them,
Well, yes, and they like their.
very small.
Yeah,
We can always print a bill anytime.
it's not a
You
big
just have it, you can have it, and you can give them the letter, you know, so if they wanna get it, they get it just like they used to. Wouldn't be in the mail, but when they come pay, right?
Those are legal requirements to provide written copies of that bill.
So I'm familiar with that requirement, Alderman Kate. I think there is there is a statement requirement, when they get issued the bill to be paid. So there is a requirement to that, but I don't know right offhand.
But they have to opt out of it, right, in order to, they're talking about saving paper.
Correct.
So
So they're
be
proposing an they're automatic, the default is paper, and then they opt for electronic.
You will still get a bill. It's just whether you get it mailed to you or you get it electronically. You will always get your statement.
I mean, my thing is, I don't want somebody coming back saying, why didn't I get my bill? And then whatever, email address was typed in wrong, you know, any number of reasons, so it's like.
Well, if
the
they came in and
default
said
for-
that, we would just adjust it, and then they would get their bill a day or two later, and there's a lot of, we email it to them right then or there, or
I
they
mean,
come in and pick it up.
you deal with people collecting money from them all the time, that they're always gonna complain about something. you
Oh, they
know,
will.
They
you
do,
know,
but
so
we keep them.
I'm
happy
trying to
as
cover
possible.
us to protect us from.
We'll address those
Issues.
issues as they arise, but yeah, I mean, if you don't, like everything else, if you don't receive a bill, you call the entity that issued you the bill or something, but yeah. Because we get that now where people say, I never got my bill in the mail.
Yeah.
I mean, we can only do so much.
Anything else? Thank you, Lynette, appreciate it, hard work and stepping in and taking care of a lot of stuff too at the same time. Appreciate it. All right, Ola. It's in the same email, right?
Yeah, but you got PDF version versus PowerPoint. It's in the same email. Use it.
I think it's, yeah, it's a point one, open it. Says back right there.
This one,
Yep, that's it.
make it,
It's, no, not make it five, when you keep them in order in the computer, you gotta keep them by numbers, it stays in order.
so this one here.
Yeah, double click.
Alright.
There you go.
Sorry. I'm gonna have to do it, I'm gonna have to do it for you.
Sorry. She puts Liz on it all the time.
Oh.
That's my real name. Sorry, we had a total of 11 permits for the month of May. Just maybe, some construction ones. Our permit for a total of $10,725. And usually we have $86,000 on permits. And 69 inspections for the total month of May, mainly reports. And we had about 70 finals, and that's mainly for rush cleaning. 57 inspections for plumbing. We had the most uninterrupted water and finals, mainly all for rush cleaning also. So far we collected a month of May, we collected $20,000 in taxes. community tax was $3,000, $48.32. Penalty interest $3,000, and attorney fees were $866. We had no LRPs.
What's our total collection rate up to this point of the year?
Wow. What's our year right now?
So what she's looking at, basically all those inspections that you had listed, that's all the stuff that contractor will take over, right? They'll do all that stuff.
It's 90.8 million, we need to collect 90% more to be at 100.
Yeah. So we'll get to about 95 and then we'll do a lawsuit for it. Oh, man.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right, next, here we go.
So she brings up the PowerPoint. I think y'all got this on Friday, so I'll breeze through it. If y'all got questions, answer any. Just the tracking of the 8.5 million, we need to update some more of that. I think we've gotten some more bills in. The Texas sidewalk grant project, we're 30% design completion. We're supposed to be already at 60, but I've not heard back from them. We're working on a couple of things. There's some issues right at the corner where the high school football field, so at Laredo and North Prairie Street. The surveying shows that the school owns up to a T, and they've got it built with a 15, like a 45, so visually there's enough room for the sidewalk and ramps and everything, but survey-wise, there's not with staying on the public's right-of-way. So we've got a question back in, since it's turnkey through TxDOT, is if we just get a letter from the school district, because we can't, us nor the school district, find that mapping in there. If the school says it's okay, you can put this on our property, is that good enough, kind of in the short term? So we're working on that. Water and sewer, we're still moving forward on that with TRC. A lot of it, you're gonna see it's just plans and data gathering right now, so.
When are they gonna have those plans back to us?
Which ones?
For those 3 projects that we.
The wastewater treatment plant, we've got a sample set that we've received to go over, and we looked at it. They're finalizing some more stuff on it. And then everything else, they're just knocking them out. I can get a timeline on when they want to have them all done and update the council, if that's what y'all would like. I don't think there's a.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea. I mean.
I still gotta get out.
Talked about earlier, we're gonna need more money.
I'll get an update from them, but I know I've got to get out and block walk all of McDonald Street for them to get the right of entry for the surveying crew. So I mailed out a whole bunch of those to the business owners, but I need to personally get out and walk the residences to get signatures before they can survey out there. Saddle Ridge, that's just the update on them and where they're at. 2 and 5, we completed the final walkthrough. So the punch list has been submitted, so that one's gonna be finalized pretty soon and going to the next phase of accepting the maintenance bond on it. Rosewood, we're still there. They're doing the electrical work. Once they get the electrical on, then we'll see some more work moving forward. But a lot of farms we talked about tonight. Open projects, the street lighting, I need to get an update from CPS. They got all the poles up and we're real hot and heavy and it kind of died off on us. So I need to touch base with them and see where they're at. The North Somerset Street roadway bollard is still open. I will get with James and by the next meeting, have you a timeline on when that project will be completed.
I have a quick question, going back to the housing. Do we know the number of houses already built in
Saddle Ridge, so right there, phase 1, total of 69 homes planned. They got 65, the others will remain open. Phase 6 has 72, and they have 34 homes under either completed or under construction. We already have homes being sold in that phase 6 and people ready.
Can you let me know when we hit 100?
Yeah, we're, as far as constructed, completed people living in, okay, we're getting really.
Let me know when we hit the 100.
those are the open drainage and stuff there. Road boring, I can happily say that has been completed, will come off, the gentleman came out, we got those finally completed, and those are off the list. Still need to work with legal and getting that letter from them. I'll be honest, it's just not as high on the priority list, but we'll work on it. All the contracts we go through, I can tell you on the, emergency management plan. So we met with the state, last week. They reviewed the basic plan and they marked up a couple of things on it. We've made those corrections, sent back, and I think now we've got the clean version back today that says this is it, sign it. Now the next phase is we were looking at what they were called annexes. But in meeting with him, the state is going away from the annexes, and they've already gone into the ESFs. 15 of those you have to do, and there's no specific time frame. You have to get those done to be your own entity, which is what we're doing. But we're going to do 3 or 4 quarters, kind of what they say most cities do. And that's, he told us more than likely those are going to be mandated probably. Just get away from annexes and go ESFs. Even though we'd already done some work on annexes, we feel it's better. Let's just do the ESFs now, be done with it. So that's where we're at on that moving forward. So we will have a basic plan adopted or signed off by the state.
So we'll send it in tomorrow and we're compliant, you know. We've had a working copy with it, but it was great. Thank you for setting up that meeting, man. It worked out really good.
AT&T, the contract, the city yard maintenance expires. There's all just the miscellaneous meetings and things that I attend to. The clear, was it out there? Clear result meeting, what that was is CPS Energy came down and said, we have an organization that their cost, no cost to the city, will come down and will inspect every single air conditioning unit the city owns, check its levels, do everything, and then give you a report back on the stats of that AC and our opinion on, hey, it's good to go, or this one's getting, we need to do this kind of maintenance kind of thing. So at least we'll have a game plan on moving forward of, at some point, that AC is gonna go out and we don't get hit with 20 at one time or something. And looking at it all, there was only about probably 4 of them that I was like, those look pretty new, everything else looks pretty old. It's kind of scary.
They haven't set a date when it could come
They've
out.
already been out, I'm waiting for them to generate the report. They were out a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So I'll wait for that report to come back in. For the month of June, no, should be July. I didn't change the vacation, so I'll be out on vacation the 6th and 7th, which are work days, the 8th and 9th are the weekends, and the 10th, the morning of the 10th, we have a council meeting. I'll be arriving back that morning, and we'll be down here probably an hour or 2 before the meeting, so bear with me there. The only issue we're gonna have that is I won't have, since we'll be out in the ocean, I will not have any type of phone or internet connection. I'll send an email out. I will be here Wednesday to do the brief on the agenda, but I will not be here Friday or Thursday or Friday. So I'll try to work with Paula if she can find time to do the briefing sheets that I normally do for the council. So you may or may not have those for the meeting on the 10th. So like that. Code compliance report, nothing to report. So we had the code compliance officer resign and working through getting the police permit. I can't tell you he's been out this month, and we've got a lot of confidence on the RT. So you'll see that in the next report. Parks, kind of all the same thing there. We're still working on everything. Wayne was over at Coal Mine working in the Coal Mine Park today, getting the old backboards down and working on getting new ones. Hopefully by Thursday, we'll have the new ones back up as soon as Jeremy comes back. Any questions on the report?
You, have you been able to look at the top 10 list of all your department heads?
Refreshing your top 10 list now.
So the, anything that's pending that they find like it has to be corrected or addressed versus the aging water lines. Remember,
If I was supposed to do that, I'm gonna be honest with you.
for each department.
I didn't get that done.
No, I'm not asking if you got it done, but
Okay, no,
just
no,
a reminder, if you could.
I'm not working on that at all.
So each department would have their top 2 lists.
What's this from? I don't remember.
Probably about 3 months ago.
So what?
Yeah, I just forgot.
So, because we were talking about what happened with the water, right, with the break.
Oh, then maybe I misunderstood, because I was working on getting a maintenance schedule from every department.
Right, and that was the other part of it.
Okay, then maybe I heard that and missed the top 10.
But the top 10 was just gonna be these are the items we identified for each department based on priority. These need to be addressed first, and then down the list.
On
But
maintenance.
yes, the maintenance was
I
part of it.
misunderstood it too, and sir, I'm sorry.
We'll work on it.
Matt,
I'll get on.
Real quick, during that same, you mentioned, Public Works looking through 3 feet of water in Teetery in 2017. When did we find that out?
So the other day when I was over there, we're fixing, so when they fixed the leak, it created another leak on the other side of the meter. So I was over there with the, we had talked about the meters recently. We had a bunch of issues with the school. And I talked to James and the crew, and we talked about, hey, take your time, make sure you're reading the meters really good. We're getting a bad read. So when I was over there, what day did they finish that meter? Tuesday, I think, or last week. I was over there and Robbie happened to be there. So I asked him, so he said, Robbie, why are we having such a bad time with this meter, this specific meter? Because I said, do we just need to buy a radio read and be done with it? And he said, well, because we're reading it through water. Well, I was like, since when? He says, since probably 2017. I was like, well, that's as long as we've had this issue going on. And yeah, so it had a metal box, and inside the metal box, 2.5, 3 foot down was the meter that was open with the glass. So the guys would have to open the top and look through there and catch the sunlight just right and the water moving just and say 3 or 4. It's sad that it took since 2017 to realize that's been the issue, but it's now been fixed because there's no longer a leak there. If you've been by there, every leak has been fixed, it's covered back up and level. So we shouldn't have that issue anymore with that meter.
Actually, sorry.
I agree with you, sir.
Leak for that long.
I 100% agree.
And ideally, the top 10 list should have that list. Mayor, are we gonna, oh, I'm sorry, you're finished.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm sorry, sir.
The workshop?
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get it, but we can't vote on it tonight. We'll have to put it on the next, yeah, to go ahead and pick the date that goes along with it. Okay. But no, going back to that, he is working on the maintenance, for every department. So we should, the council should be getting something in the future that goes along with that.
Thank you.
So with that in mind, go around the room. Any informational items you need to go ahead and share? Okay.
Nothing there.
Paula?
Yeah, well, I will be out also. Every time like he's gonna be out, but I'll be back on the 10th.
I got it. I'm good at this now.
Okay, so then we're gonna have a meeting. Should we covering, are you gonna be gone during the time that we're prepping for the meeting then?
That Wednesday I'll be here.
Okay,
And you and I will cover the second.
the second portion with
Yeah,
Jess.
we're just the conference.
I got
Okay, so we'll cover with Jess. Okay, that'll be good.
And any adjustments he wants to make.
Jesse really good. He'll make them all and just forward back to us and you just accept them. It's really,
Do it all, please. Do it all.
he does all.
I did want to mention that Waste Management did do their donation today for the 4th of July. Is that what it was?
Yeah, part of our contract, we have an additional $5,000 that we can request from him for any city function. And we've requested it for the fireworks show, so we can increase the time limit of the fireworks.
They called me today with a credit card, so they paid that.
Nice. I think it's gonna be a great thing. I'll have it on here.
Definitely.
Anything? James? Nothing? Okay. Back? Santi?
Just last Thursday, I part-time chemo tech, Maria Varial, that was her last day.
Appreciate it. So I know you guys are gonna be hiring, so we'll get that.
Yes, we have three, I think, decent applications right now in there.
So I just wanna, I'll jump and I'll come back to information, but Santi, you've been doing a great job. Really appreciate you working with City Hall, working with Lynette, working with Betty, trying to get all that. So your efforts do not go unnoticed. So really appreciate what you're doing out there.
Thank you.
That'd be good. Cassandra? Nada? Okay.
Sandra, they got their new copier in,
yeah, we did.
You got a new copier?
Sorry, yeah.
so we don't have to add that to next year's budget. You got it out of this year's.
Nice.
Oh, and he gave us a court copier.
Oh, yeah.
And it's working good?
It's fine. It was
We did
just-
not auction it.
It didn't like Richie,
Yeah.
but it
Didn't like
worked.
Richie.
It likes us.
Operator error?
Yeah, it's working great.
Is it a new copier or?
I
new to
don't, it
us?
was there when Paula was there.
Yeah, we bought it new at the police department and we probably used it 4.5, 5 years. And I think it was, I was trying to remember what run. I think it was the drum would get really dirty. But the best part is Paula has cleaned it and worked on it so much that she's an ace at it.
She knows.
So we're good.
That's good.
So I can take it apart.
So, appreciate it, Cassandra, and I appreciate the help. And I'll mention right now, Cassandra helped us out. We got our Little League girls. They're gonna get recognized on Thursday night. And she allowed us to go ahead and use the parking lot as a receiving area, so appreciate that. Thank you. All right, David, PD.
Nothing really. We're gonna start advertising again for that last position to get filled. We're gonna do that, either by, I think, next week, whenever Chief comes back, we're ready to get that going.
And we've talked about doing just like we did the open until field. Just that way, it takes a while to get their data in. There's so much you have to do on that police side application.
Yep. And actually, if you haven't heard, Richie had a baby. So Ken and James. So we got addition to the Team Priest over there. He's staying pretty busy, very occupied.
He'll work here till he's 105.
I know. So I want to see him at his graduation, so it'll be good. But no, many blessings. Everything went very well. Everything worked itself out for the family, so we're very happy. So please pass that on to David. Appreciate that.
Nothing new there, other than I will be, I will be out for the July meetings, but we have coverage already worked out, so it should be seamless for us.
We're gonna have tag team all around.
Yes.
Just gonna have
So
some
we're
fun.
working with,
I believe we've got
coverage.
Richard the first meeting, and we'll actually have the man Frank for our second one.
It'll be good.
So that
We'll be going. Yep.
I was gonna ask, so there's still some openings for the city, right, for, animal
Animal control and public works.
Did y'all get an application in from Ernesto?
When?
Well, I talked to him, I wanna say Friday, no, Thursday.
For the public works position, we've had no applicants yet.
Well, I met him, I was driving through the coal mine. He was walking his dog with his wife. He said he's interested, but I told him he had to, I don't know, personally bring the application.
Yeah.
So Richard, just so you know, because it's different, they have to apply during a certain time frame that we have that open, and that's municipal law. So he can't just come in, it has to be when Matt had ran the ad in the open time.
But it was open at the time you talked to him.
Okay, yeah, that's what because he said he saw it.
Yeah, it's open.
So I told him, well, you're interested in just that or the animal control. He said, whichever one they want, man. He works at the Dodge, Brown, Body Works. But he came in from out of state. He's here to stay and his mom's elderly. So he wants to be local.
What was his name?
Just pass
So
it
now
on.
he's on.
Ernesto
After
Lee.
me, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So we can go ahead and take care of it. That's awesome. Thanks for recruiting.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
I don't have anything, just a question for Matt. We have, 4th of July, hoop to do coming up. Have you started pushing on the sign up?
Yes, it is on the sign right now. It's on our website. We've got it posted here. The mayor pushed the flyer out. Richard, it's a very simple event like we did last year. Food trucks. We're gonna have a live DJ, and I think the chamber's got 1 or 2 little vendors that are gonna be out there, and then the fireworks show.
One other thing, I went to a radio event over in Honda Park, and they were talking about an event coming up in April of 24, the eclipse.
What's the eclipse?
Yeah.
Okay, they're looking at 40,000 people there over a 3-day period to watch the eclipse. And they're starting to make plans right now for that. And we even begun to talk, we're on the 95%.
The mayor and I kind of talked about it. We gotta figure out a spot that we could put cars safely and stuff. I mean, I think the park would be a good spot. They could get on the baseball fields, shut off, make sure that night we shut all the lights off or whenever it is, and just go from there.
Yeah, we're getting with the chamber.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working with the chamber, yeah, everybody's trying to plan for it.
I just
Trying to
want
figure
to
out
make
a
sure
spot.
that we were thinking about it.
Yeah, because the hotel industry, everybody's
Good.
planning for
That's
it.
all I
No, no, valid point.
Fourth of July, no free hot dogs?
No, we're gonna do food trucks.
Anything free for the kiddos?
No, I don't think last year we went to the food truck vendor type setup and they did
I think the
excellent.
other thing we
so far.
had was we had extra stuff that we found that was 4th of July.
Yeah, I mean, we gave away some like city goodies, stuff like, promo stuff.
We still have some
Yeah.
stuff, yeah.
Do we still have some? Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we had pencils
something.
and.
Oh, yeah, we got pencil.
It was stuff that was red, white, and blue, right?
City promo stuff we'll give away.
That sounds good. That'd be good. Thank you.
All right, any last minute? All right, let me just go real quick on this one. First of all, thanks to Lynette, Paola, Wayne, Richie, PD for assisting with outreach fair. Home run all the way around. We had so many people, we weren't supposed to start till 10 o'clock, 8:45, we had so many people there. There was people lined up we had a lot of kids get their immunizations so they could be ready to get registered. So that worked out really good. The farmer's market for our seniors was a big hit. A lot of $50 vouchers were given out. And those were local farmers that are here and they're gonna be coming back when we have it in August. So all the way around, it worked out really good. And I just wanna say thank you for all your help with that. We got a lot of good feedback with that. Thanks to Public Works for taking care of some of the major grass cutting. James, you've been getting a lot of that, I know. A lot of calls with that rain, now it's drying up, but we've had a lot of areas. So they've been trying to squeeze things and get that taken care of. I also want to say kudos for the water leak over at Stripes. I know that was out of the ordinary and it threw a curveball. You know, that whole day you guys pretty much spend it out there just trying to take care of it. So I appreciate it. And at the same time, trying to take care of some of the businesses we're on there. Thanks to Divine News, everybody has a copy. So this is a work with the city and the chamber putting this stuff together, so it's pretty neat. So you should have a copy on that. But I just want to personally thank Divine News for taking the time. If you have a chance, take a look at the history. They do a really, Kayleen does a great job of being able to put the history in there. And it's pretty neat, and KK too, but I know Kayleen spends a lot of time with that, so that's pretty good publication. TxDOT update. So they got done with everything in front of Park Place. They're leaving the temporary on-ramp there because they're still gonna, once they get done with everything, they're gonna come back and put a 2 to 3 inch laid asphalt on top of everything. So during the time that they're doing the regular ramp, they're gonna use a temporary and then it'll be extracted. So you'll see that until the very end. But we're getting closer. The only thing that was a curveball, and I wanna give the council a heads up, is because they're working with us and we're trying to get the underneath 3175, it's gonna need some work underneath the I-35, where the concretes are in the sides. So what does that mean? That means that they're gonna have to shut that down. So we're hoping, they said that they're gonna open the two-way in front of Bill Miller's, so you'll be able to go both ways. 2790 is not gonna have any work underneath, so they'll shut the underneath to work on that, and we'll just have to go around to be able to do that. But we'll have 2 ways on both. Once they get done with that, pretty much the last thing that they'll have, and they're still working on some sidewalks, is just the roads. And once they do the roads, then we're completely done. So the main push right now is that we're trying to get this done before school starts. So that way we can have 3175 and everything, all the major roads taken care of, and it doesn't affect our school buses and our parents that are actually using, coming back and forth, and our businesses too. So just to let you know, we'll put out the information as that happens. Did I miss anything, Matt, on that, on the TxDOT?
I don't think they made in doing one way or shutting it down. Because if they did one way, it would be up to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But if we said, you could shut the whole thing down, they might be able to do it in 4 to 5 weeks. So we're gonna see which way they want to go.
We're hoping get it all done. That's what we're pushing before school starts. So that's 8th, 9th of August. Goes along with that. Stripes, we're hoping by the end of this week. They've been having a lot of training. We're gonna check on it, and Matt, if you can send something out, if we let council know. And get in the other ones. I got a lot of feedback from the HEB. For some reason, a lot of folks are talking about the brisket tacos over there, over at the true Texas tacos. So please make sure people know. I've gotten a lot of folks, why are they closing? So they're not open for dinner. Their hours are 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. They're not open the rest of the day. That's the only hours. So let folks know. But it's been going pretty good, being able to do that. Just a reminder, once again, I know Michael was asking tomorrow, we're not having a workshop, just so you know. 4th of July, we already covered it. Please don't hesitate, stop by, come help out, look out. You know, it's gonna be a great event. We're hoping the weather's not too bad for us, but it's pretty good. And if you happen to go close to the baseball field, Miguel throws a heck of a party over there. We were just talking about it before the meeting. For some reason, all his friends he hasn't seen for a long time show up at his house. Is that right, Miguel? Yeah. So good place over there to be able to do that. Council, I do want to give you a heads up. CPS Energy is doing an event in July. I want to say the 12th. Paula, do you remember the date that they reserved? But they're actually having an event where they're going to be doing different energy programs and a few other things that they didn't want to do it in the outreach fair. They wanted to have their own. It's the 12th. So please pass the word around. Please pass it on to our seniors to go out there. A lot of those energy efficiency programs that they offer for free, along with bill paying assistance, and just they talk about technology and stuff like that. It's going to be in the community center. No question. Yeah. So it's going to be out there. So we get more from them, but just pass the word around and be able to do that. Congrats to our boys baseball Little League team. They did a good job. Lost by 1 run to be able to advance into the championship. That was a hard loss. Our girls were able to win in Pleasanton, and they're going to be leaving to go play in Del Rio on Friday. So on Thursday night, they're going to meet up over at the library at 8:30. They're going to jump, and they're going to get escorted all the way to True Value. So we'll put the word out, go out there and support them, be out on Main Street, kind of cheer them on and stuff like that. So they did a great job. They beat Uvalde, I think it was 13-6. So yeah. So the coaches, the families, everybody's doing good. But both the boys and the girls have done a great job. Minors, large, everybody's done a really good job. Best wishes to our school district to get ready to enjoy some summer break. So if you need to take care of any of this stuff, please contact them. Be able to do that because they're getting close to taking that break in between. Don't want to miss out on special prayers. Prayers for Rex family, having a memorial service at 10 o'clock at the Lytle Methodist or Lytle United Methodist Church. And then they'll get together afterwards. So, for our families, be there. Special prayers for those families that have gone, like Ray's family and Annie. We've had a few losses, some very big community folks that we've lost. Prayers for Father Antoni, still in recovery. So please keep him in your mind and prayers, and also prayers for Yolanda Garcia too. She's still going strong, hanging in there, still going through some additional treatments. But please keep her and the family in the prayers on there. Appreciate council members taking care. You guys already took care of the financial disclosures. So thank you for doing that. Really appreciate it. Just go ahead and take care of the stuff. Charles, be able to get that taken care of. Appreciate that. And then once again, please check on our elderly and folks during this heat. We've had, unfortunately, on my other job with the Medina County, we have actually found some folks in pretty bad heat in different parts of Medina County. These are folks that were out in outlying areas in their houses, didn't have any family around. It was pretty sad, sending the sheriff out there and then realizing that they were by themselves. So please keep out on elderly, check up on other folks as we go through this heat that we're going through. Any last minute? Okay. If there's anything else, can I get a motion for us to go ahead and adjourn?
I move to adjourn, man.
Okay, thank you. You have a second? Second? Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, 9:34. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. a great evening.